What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the Against All Odds podcast. I'm here with Mr. Old Man Kev. How's it going?
Good. Thank you for having me, Matt.
Yeah, no problem. So we'll get all into Kevin's story. It's gonna be a long one because you're just turned 41. Is that correct?
Yeah, 41 going on 30.
41. So just turned 30, and we'll get all into Kevin's story. It's a good one. But yeah, I'm excited. Let's roll the intro and let's get started. Okay, Kev. Do you want to give me your full name, your age, and your playing position?
Sure. Kevin Garcia, age 30 or 41, as Matt likes to refer to as, and playing as a center back, but also have been playing as an outside back for most of my career as well.
And this is your second year with Tulsa?
This is my second year with Tulsa, my 9th year as a pro. I thought it was 10th year, but I'll get into it a little bit later about that first year out of college.
Yeah, you told me it was.
It was 10, but then I backtracked because I had to do my homework since you asked me how long I've been playing, and it's been actually 9 full seasons.
Okay, so 9 full seasons as a pro.
Yeah.
Next one will be the 10th one.
Yeah, next
and
year's
then,
10.
Then decade. Then you're a decade.
Then-
What's it called? Centennial? No, that's 100 years.
No, it's 100 years. Just
Never mind.
10-year vet.
10-year vet. That's pretty
Clean.
cool.
It's clean.
That was actually one of my big goals as like a pro, is to play 10 years.
Yeah. I think that's always a good benchmark to have as a pro. I mean, for us, it's around 22, 21 years old when you start to set out and try to play pro. I guess it's getting younger and younger every single year. But yeah, 10 years is always a good benchmark, and that's always something I envisioned for myself growing up, and it's good to be close to it.
Yeah, that's sick. And then so let's start it back from birth. You're born in Queens, New York, right?
Queens, New York.
What was your mom, dad? Do you have any siblings?
Yeah, I have my parents. So they're I'm first generation American. My parents are from Colombia. My mom is from Cali, and my dad is very close to the capital, Bogota. And I have 2 siblings, my older brother, George, and my oldest brother, Eric. And George is 2 years older than me, and Eric's 10 years older than me.
Okay. Wow. So you're the youngest.
I'm the youngest. I'm the baby of the family.
Yeah. How was being the youngest?
I always lost. I always lost in the fights until I hit a growth spurt end of middle school, early high school. And, I was able to, grow a little bit and fill out a little bit. And my brother stopped picking on me. So.
That's good. And being from Colombia, mom and dad are both from Colombia, right? You said.
That's right.
Being from Colombia, soccer, football was just the main thing. Did you play any other sports or anything?
So soccer was the main sport. Growing up, we did play basketball and swimming. I think my mom always had a fear of us drowning, so she made sure that we took swimming classes from 2-3 months old, which I didn't even know was possible. But we competed for a club swimming team at the YMCA. It was called the Flushing Flyers, and we competed up until we were 3rd and 4th grade. We were actually pretty good. We had like this whole like trophy set in our bedroom, and I ended up quitting because my brother quit, and that was sort of a theme. Like I'd always copy my brother. He was very cool, very talented, and very athletic, very studious. And I always looked up to him growing up. And he played basketball. He's very good at basketball, very good at swimming. He did well in school, and he was very talented in soccer as well. So I always kind of followed in his footsteps and after his kind of model.
What was his name?
George
Great.
Jr.
What is his name?
Yeah.
And then what's your oldest brother's name?
Eric Garcia.
Eric.
So he also played sports as well. Eric was more into the All-American sports, basketball, baseball, football. I think he played soccer as well, but I was just closer to George a little bit because we were a little bit closer in age. And Eric was, a big influence on me as well. But it's just as I don't know if you know, but having a sibling closer in age, you guys just share a lot more common interest, and you're able to go train with each other and kind of learn from one another.
Yeah, because 10 years is kind of
It's a big gap. So he was kind of like my second dad, almost like Eric.
Yeah.
Right. So George was, someone I fought with a lot more, and we argued over video games, over whatever it was. So we were definitely much closer.
And then how did your parents get to New York from Colombia? How did that?
So my dad must have been in the 80s. He must have been in the 80s, came from right after he graduated from school in Colombia. Started working in the city of Manhattan. He met my mom in the city. My mom was living with her aunts in Queens, New York. And my dad actually met my mom because my mom had picked up like a cleaning shift in my dad's building. And they got to talking, and my dad asked her out. She said yes, and they started to go out a lot more. And that's how my dad finally locked my mom up. And she was actually pretty young. She was like 22, 23 years old, and my dad was a little bit older. He was like 37, 38. So there's like a 16-year gap there.
What is this cat doing?
Gucci. She's always active. I'm telling you, she's always plotting.
She's crazy.
Yeah.
So that's a big age gap. And then, so they met in New York.
They met in New York. And then they had my brother George. So my dad was married previously, and he had Eric. So Eric is my half brother, but we treat Eric is, for me, is my real brother. So is George, and we constantly talk daily about how we're doing, and we're constantly seeing each other and visiting each other in the off season. And he's a big supporter of mine. He's always believed in my dreams. So like Eric is, for me, he's always been a full brother, and so just as much as George is.
Yeah. And then what do your brothers do now? My
brother Eric works for AXA, and he works in financial instruments and investments. Mm-hmm. And my brother George actually works with a tourism company coming out of Colombia, Amovia, and he's also working in music. And my brother also does a bit of commercial real estate. So he's been very active. Both my brothers are very active. My brother Eric lives in New Jersey, but looking to move down south. And my brother George is living in Cartagena right now. And my folks moved down to Orlando. So we've all pretty much moved out of New York recently.
But you've been in New York. You were in New York all the way up until end of high school, right?
Yeah. So New York City. Yeah. I mean, it was a lot of competitive footy around in New York City. You get to meet people from all different backgrounds. We grew up playing in Flushing Meadow Park. I don't know how well you know Queens, but Flushing Meadow Park is just like the main park where you go for games, for the youth games, for the state team. Mm-hmm. A lot of competition is played in Flushing Meadow Park, and it's all turf field. There's some grass fields too. Like you have Sunday League there. So it was just kind of just at the center of Queens, and where a lot of football is being played. Mm-hmm. And that's actually like where I have like my first memory of playing footy was playing in like U3, U4 games, playing on small goals, and being there with my parents because I'm so attached to my Colombian roots. Soccer is like a religion for us, and we would go cheer on the Colombian national team. We'd go cheer on the U.S. national team in the '94 World Cup, in the '98. So I mean, it's always been ingrained in our family, and even being with our family members, with my uncles, with my grandpa, with my cousins, like we'd always play on the weekends, no matter where we were, whether it was at the beach or having a picnic on the weekend or somebody's house, we'd always find a way to play pickup. Mm-hmm. And that was kind of a driving force behind the passion of my family and the passion I had for the sport growing up.
Did you like, so you're playing pickup a ton, you're playing already with U3, U4, doing a little bit of like club games and stuff.
Yeah.
Did you also like just around the house, everything in the backyard, just with your brother, just do 1v1s, or like with your family, with your dad? Like how did that home setup look?
So we actually, my brother and I, we got more competitive with soccer later on in life, but we were already exposed to organized soccer early on, but basketball we weren't. What we like to do is play organized soccer with the players at the clubs, and then at home we would actually like play basketball or like street hockey. Like we like to try other sports. My brother got really into basketball growing up, and then I really got into basketball growing up because I always wanted to play with my brother, and we'd go outside and play 1v1 in our we had one hoop in the backyard, so we'd constantly invite friends over and we'd go at it. And even in the backyard, you could always just set up like a little 3v3 or 4v4 in the backyard when relatives came over. Mm-hmm. But as far as my brother and I, we never did any individual training. I got a lot of individual training later on, like maybe end of middle school, high school years, when I started to get much more involved in soccer and knowing that I needed to put in a lot more work in.
Yeah.
But that wasn't that wasn't early on. Early on, we just kind of had fun, did the swimming, did the basketball, loved playing pickup with my family. And I actually remember from that Flushing Meadow, I actually got put into like a more organized play with Long Island, what was it? Little Neck Rangers. And it was Long Island Club. It was Little Neck Rangers. And we were like 5 years old, and I remember I showed up with a Mickey Mouse shirt. It was the first day. And we show up, and it was a game on the first day. And so they just had me. It was like back then, I don't know if you remember your U5 days, but you just had like reversible pennies.
Oh, yeah.
Where you could just like swap players, and it wasn't really that serious about who was playing on which team. But that was like the first time where I had like getting into knowing players that I'm playing with every single week. And actually people that I'm still close to this day, like Joel Im, Emma Mulo, who went on to play at Yale. A lot of really good players that ended up playing college ball and are doing well for themselves now. But that was probably like the big memory I had, and where I developed my foundation was with Little Neck Rangers out in Long Island, around like 5, 6, 7, 8 years old. So I don't know if you have the same kind of memory, but
I was at some local farm Skyline elementary school playing like 5 years old. And then nobody from that team, I think, even pursued soccer after third grade. Yeah.
Oh, man.
But it's funny. I talked to a lot of people, and like some people either have like Eric had his group of like the soccer boys, or they would just all play soccer in the backyard from a really, really early age, and they all went on to go play college soccer at least. And it's cool that you have like the similar thing. Like from a young age, a lot of people stuck with it, became good players. Are still any players right now?
So after college, I think none of them went pro. I want to say we played, there was like all boys, and then there were 3 girls who were extremely good. Mm-hmm. Emma Mulo I'm really close to because her dad was the coach of the team, and we maintain contact. And when I would travel to New York City area, because that's where she works out of, she worked actually for Nike out of Portland for a while.
Yeah.
And she now works in New York City. I forget for which company. I don't think if it's with Nike anymore, but like we maintain contact. So like whenever we'd go down, when I was with Houston, we would go down and play New York City FC or New York Red Bulls. I'd invite her and her dad out, and they'd come to the game. Mm-hmm. So her dad, Pat Mulo, was like my first official coach growing up, and I can attribute a lot of my foundation as a player to the things that we worked on in training, and kind of like that work ethic that he instilled in me early on, because we were very competitive, but he also had a winning mentality himself, and we were pretty dominant in that age group growing up. So we played with those 3 girls, and it was Emma Mulo, Cody, and Nicole, and they all went on to play D1 for girls. They were really good. Like I remember thinking Emma could do like 100 juggles at like 6 years old.
I feel like
and
girls,
I couldn't even do
girls
10.
could always do that earlier.
Yeah.
Like I don't know why, but they were always really technically
she
gifted.
was so technical. She would do like 100 on her thighs, just to the thighs. And I'm thinking like, I can't even do 10. And so I actually remember one training where her dad made it a point for me to get more than 10 juggles. And he had me sit out of training and just focus on getting more than 10 juggles. Like obviously, I got better at it as time went on, but Emma Mulo, just like from early on, you can tell like the amount of work that her dad and her put into developing her as a player. So it was cool to start off my youth career with such talented and driven kids and players, and it's good to see them succeed later on in life.
Mm-hmm. That's funny too that like that you kind of went home too after all that, like all the soccer training was at the organized team trainings and stuff, and then you would always go home and play different sports with your brothers. Do you think that helped like round you out as an athlete, or do you think you, looking back on that, wish you did more like soccer training with your brother?
I mean, that's the
age-old question.
That's growing up in America though. I feel like if you grow up in America, you're always competing with other sports, right? So it's not just soccer. You're always competing with football. You're always competing with basketball and baseball. And if you go to, normally at your school, you're going to meet so many kids who are competing in these different sports, and you want to relate to these kids, and you want be involved in these conversations where they're talking about baseball and basketball and football, and I always wanted to join in and be part of the crew. So that's why I joined basketball at my school, at my middle school growing up. That's why I wanted to play baseball and wanted to play football, but basketball was the main sport that a lot of my friends played at school, and I kind of wanted to relate to them more and be accepted as one of the groups. So I wanted to play soccer, and I also wanted to play basketball. They stopped playing soccer after like second grade, so I kept playing soccer at club, which was a little bit more competitive. What's up, Gucci?
Gucci just ran. She's crazy.
And kept playing basketball at school so that I could interact with my friends at school and make sure I but I was competitive with both. Like early on, this is what's crazy to me is like, and I still remember this, I thought that I'd be able to play professional basketball for 10 years and then play professional soccer for 10 years. I thought it was that simple, right? Like I thought I didn't know any rejection. I thought like I could do these things if I just put my mind to them, that it was just going to come to me. It wasn't going to be that difficult.
Yeah.
It wasn't until like 7th and 8th grade where I started to realize, okay, I need to pick one of the two sports, and I ended up picking soccer only because, and my mom might not remember this, but I hang on to this every single time that I talk about it because it kind of shifted my mentality and made me strive more for like a higher ambition and loftier goals in soccer. She said that she saw me playing professionally basketball over soccer. She said soccer, she didn't see it yet. And that was because like soccer, I was content. I was comfortable. I wasn't as talented as my brother was. My brother was very talented, very technical. He was very good with the ball, and he had that hunger. And for me, I was just like kind of content, very happy to play. But basketball is where I really loved playing, and I was doing really well with the school team. And she said, I see you playing, going really far with basketball, not so much as soccer. And that kind of just like flipped the switch inside of me. And I said, so you're saying I can't do it with soccer? And I wanted to prove my mom wrong. And I started focusing a lot more in soccer. So this is in 7th or 8th grade. I started to focus a lot more. And this was right around when I actually got cut from the select team. I got cut from the state team 2 years back to back. And I also got cut from a club team, Garden City. I forget what the name was, but it was a club in Garden City, and that fueled a lot of fire inside of me to want to prove these naysayers wrong, to prove my mom wrong, to prove the coaches wrong, to prove the players maybe around me who didn't think I was good enough, and that kind of got me on track to wanting to improve and do much more individual training on my own. So I'd go home, I'd juggle, I'd play with the tennis ball, I'd juggle the tennis ball, I'd actually take a ball and I'd run up and down the street with it to try to improve my speed dribbling. That's what I do. I'd work on my left foot, work on my right foot, and I think that's where I caught up to a lot of people
in a straight
my
line.
Like I'd honestly like think that I'm gonna improve my fitness. I'm gonna improve my fitness with the ball.
Yeah.
And in the backyard, I was actually doing cuts too. Like in the backyard is where I did like my cuts and trying to do a lot of turning and getting much smoother with the ball. But where I'd be like hanging out with my friends in the summertime, and maybe we're just killing time because we're just hanging out. I'd want to take the ball with me and just like run up and down the street, and I'd maybe do that for like 30 minutes here and there, and then take have my friend kind of time it and see if I'm doing better, if I'm getting faster, like how much fitter I'm getting, and just started to focus a lot more on soccer. So after 8th grade, I quit basketball and I just focused solely on soccer and wanting to prepare myself for doing well in high school and making the state team, making sure I got recognized and started to compete with some of the best players in the state. And by that 3rd year, I did make ODP, and I became much more competitive. And I moved from Little Neck Rangers, and I bounced around to a few clubs in Queens. I went to the club my brother was playing at, Albertson. He was part of a very good team. Paul Riley was the director of the Albertson club there, and I started playing with the 90 group. They're the 91s because I'm a 90, so I was able to play with them. Very good team. I played there for about 2 years. Then after being with the state team for those 2 years, I realized that a lot of the players were going to Gotchi, and they were trying to get as many players who were local to go play on Gotchi to try to create one of the best teams in the state. And so, they had been telling me to go to Gotchi for a while, and then I after finishing up with Albertson, I decided, I'm going to go to Gotchi, where the head coach of the state team, Wilmer Cabrera, became the head coach of the Gotchi team. And that's kind of where my relationship with Wilmer Cabrera starts, who was my coach for the Houston Dynamo.
Yeah, that's crazy. So in this like 3-year span of like middle school, it went from like 50-50 basketball and soccer to then all of a sudden your mom making one comment, which she probably doesn't even like, it probably wasn't serious. Like, oh, I just see you doing better in basketball, like something nice. And then it just started the fuel. And then you got cut from a team, cut from another team, like club and state, right?
Yeah.
And then I'm sure that just really started the snowball effect of just training. And then once you start training, it's almost like you develop more of a love for it because you spend more time with it. That's like very similar. I had a very similar situation when I was 16, because that's when I got cut from the A team in my club team. It was like the best in state, got cut from that.
Yeah.
Was on the B team for 2 years. Same thing, didn't make ODP. And then just like, I just thought that I should have been on the A team. And that's what started all my individual training and everything, because I was like, I cannot believe I'm on the B team.
Right.
And just, it's funny how like little stuff like that just starts this fire in you that you just train. Yeah. So those 3 years, it's funny, they're bad in the moment, but then that's what really started the full. Yeah. That's probably why you became a pro soccer player.
That failure is important. Yeah. Because if you don't know disappointment, if you don't have those struggles early on, then you don't know how you're going to respond later on when you do have that rejection, when you're not maybe starting for your college team, when you're not starting for a more competitive team. So it was good for me to tackle it early on, because then I started to develop these habits to how I respond in these negative situations, to these struggles, to whatever adversity I came across. You start to develop these habits, and they become second nature. And just also seeing my brother and seeing how talented he was and how he was making the state team, I wanted to measure up to my brother, and I wanted to always push myself to be better than my brother was. And I think that's where my brother and I kind of differed, is that I was very, very dedicated to the sport, and my brother was very talented. Don't get me wrong, he was very talented and very creative, but I was a bit more dedicated in developing the craft and seeing it through and wanting to aspire more and more and make sacrifices for it. And my brother just kind of didn't have that same ambition.
Yeah. But you see that happen a lot, like with players, where it's like you get success early on without having to work your ass off for it. Like you kind of like, oh yeah, well, if it's already coming to me like this, then why do I need to work harder if I'm already having a little bit of success? Yeah. And I've seen so many players too, like what you said too, that when you're like always winning, you're always on the A team, you're always getting all these accolades. I feel like very few players end up like keeping on and having like a long career, because then, like you said, the first time they're cut from a team, especially when they're older, they're like, oh, I failed, I'm done. Yeah. Versus like if you fail, like what you said, when you fail in 7th, 8th grade, it's like a habit almost. Yeah. Then like when you are 25 and you fail, then you're like, it happened before. Yeah. No big deal. It's, part of the process, you know? And so that's cool.
Yeah. And even growing up in Queens, you kind of come across a lot of these talented players, like extremely talented players, but for whatever reason, whether it be grades, they don't get into the schools that are recruiting them, maybe like the Maryland or like these powerhouses that are recruiting a lot of these talented players, and they just maybe slip up in grades, or they just have a girlfriend back home and they don't want to, venture out too far from home because they want to be close to their high school girlfriends. And it's just a shame, because these guys have so much potential. And just for me, knowing like 5 to 10 guys who could have played at a very good D1 school, and from there, who knows, I'm sure they could have gone pro. But I knew a lot of players who got invited to national camps, who were at residency, who just kind of peaked and at that 17, 18, 19 year mark, and then they just kind of started spiraling down. So I think it's important to always keep goals and make sure that you find your reason why you're doing it all, why you're getting up in the morning, why you're doing the work after training, why you're staying to do extra work, why you're going to bed early, why you're taking care of your body. You have to find the reason why to keep you going, because there are going to be distractions, and you just have to make sure that you're steadfast in your belief that you want to make it as a pro, and these are the steps that you need to take to do that.
What was your why at that time? Was it all just competitiveness with your brother?
It was that was that that was that early on competitive nature between my brother and I, because we constantly fought, whether it was about video games, basketball, saving money. I mean, we constantly fought, and I think that seeing him excel in soccer and hearing my mom saying, I see you more as a basketball player, and getting rejected from several teams just kind of lit a fire under me, and I wasn't going to let someone tell me what I could and couldn't do.
Mm-hmm.
And
yeah, that's funny. It is funny how little statements like that, they stick with kids, you know?
True. I'll never forget it.
Yeah. So then now going into high school with all that work, you had a pretty successful high school kind of career, right? With your team.
Yeah.
Freshman year though, how was that? Like, did you come in as like one of the stars, or what happened?
So I ended up going to St. Francis Prep because, like I said, like I followed my brother around. He was at St. Francis Prep, and he already created a pretty good name for himself playing for the varsity team there. And they had just won city and state finals. And I had gone to the games. I was an 8th grader. I had gone to the games, and they were the underdogs. It's not like they deserved to win city and state. I don't think they had ever won state finals. And I saw them. I see the school rally around them, and I see my brother and the players, the underdogs, just winning 1-0, winning in PKs, pulling off these upsets. And I wanted to be a part of that culture. I wanted to be part of the group that was gonna be winning cities and winning state finals, and that kind of just sealed it for me. I wanted to go to SFP the next year. I went to SFP. I didn't play on varsity the first year. We had a JV squad and a varsity squad, and I wanted to be on the varsity squad badly. But I mean, back in that day, there was just no sort of freshman playing on varsity. It was very, very hard just because of the physical nature of it, and the
difference between a 14-year-old and an 18-year-old is crazy.
Yeah, and I was also very scrawny actually going into high school. Like I was tall, but I was scrawny. Going into freshman year, did I play as a forward? I think I played as a forward. So going into freshman year, I played as a forward in high school, and we had a very talented team. We made it all the way to city finals, I want to say, and for our JV squad, we had a pretty talented team. And I think we ended up losing on an own goal. So that was crushing. And the coach at that time was, I remember his son, Jason Lopez, who was the assistant coach. But our coach was Coach Lopez. And he was a very good coach. He's actually he was Colombian as well. And he played professionally in Colombia. So, I already had kind of a good relationship with him. And he told me that the next year he wanted me back on JV and to give it another shot at city finals. And the following year, I got called up to varsity. So I was like one of 3 sophomore players who got called into varsity. And that was the first time my brother and I were actually playing like competitively on the same team. And we were clashing a lot.
What position was he?
He was playing as a center mid.
Okay.
He was playing as a creative type.
And so because you're center back now, but you were playing
back
in attacking
then. I was playing forward and outside back for that team in my sophomore year.
It's like classic high school where you're doing that that kind of switch. I would play forward like center striker number 9, and then if we start winning like by a couple goals, I'll play like the 6, or I'll play like center back sometimes. Yeah, just like funny. So more attacking roles, but also some defensive outside back. Yeah, no center back at all though.
No center back at all. So I think. We started off playing, me playing at forward. My brother actually is the assist record holder for SFP.
Wow.
And he would give me, a lot of hard times just for not scoring more goals, because he said like he played me a lot of good balls and he set me up, and he would have blown the record by a mile if I would have put away half the chances. So he was giving me a hard time for it, but we connected a good amount, and I had some goals that sophomore year, and I think that we were giving up a few goals as well, and I think that's when like mid-season the coach decided to put me at outside back to kind of help the back line. We played with the sweeper stopper formation in the back. Classic high school ball.
Classic 2005.
Yeah. And so we never worked on the back line on the flat four. So he liked having me as an outside back just because I can get up and down the line, and I knew the game pretty well from that position because that's what I was actually playing for my club team as well at the time. And it's funny because I was also alternating between playing outside mid, forward, and playing on the flank. Like growing up, all I did was playing on the flank. I didn't really play center back. And so I played on the left side, and that's where, I got very comfortable using my left foot. Played on the right side at times as well, but mainly on the left side because not many players, I'm sure you don't really come across too many naturally left-footed players.
Yeah.
And when you have a right-footed player who can play on the left side, you want to make sure you keep him over there because he's one of the more comfortable players on that side.
Mm-hmm.
So I grew up playing on both sides of the flank, and in high school, the coach used that versatility, and I was able to play forward, play outside back, and after that sophomore year, I want to say we lost first or second round in the playoffs. That sophomore year was really competitive because we were going up against some really talented teams in our city. They were. That was back when like high school ball, like everyone played high school ball.
Yeah.
So you had like national team players, regional team players, ODP players, all playing high school ball. And you didn't have the academy system where players opted out of playing high school. So it was very competitive. And, I was a sophomore going up against like national team players who are 18 years old.
Yeah.
And I'm just thinking like, this is an amazing opportunity. I want to make sure I do well. I want to make sure I measure up to, players of this caliber and see how I'm doing. So that sophomore year, we didn't really win any hardware, but it was a competitive year. It was a big growing year for me. And then the next year, junior year and senior year, we won cities. I want to say junior year we won cities, and senior year we went undefeated the whole season. And then I want to say we lost 1-0 to Fordham in the final. But that junior year is a special year because we had a very talented team. We were going through playoffs, and we were tying a good amount. In the semifinals and in the finals, we both tied. And that was when we had gone into PKs, and we were scoring and they were scoring. We were scoring and they were scoring. And I didn't think that our goalie was going to get a chance to save one of the PKs. So I tell the coach, and I'm like, hey, Coach Purificado, I'm thinking I should go in, maybe change it up, and maybe I'll stop it. But the thing is, like, it wasn't that random. I had tried it in training, just to kind of practice a little bit with our starting goalkeeper, just to alternate and see how I can do. And I did okay in training, and so we already had like an idea of, all right, if it was going to happen. It wasn't just completely out of the blue. And so we're going up against Malloy, which is a huge rival in the area. And St. Francis Prep and Malloy rivalry goes back a long way. And we're tied 3-3 in PKs. I take my PK, I score, and then I tell the coach, hey, I want to go in as keeper and save him. And then I go up to my keeper and I say, hey, Joe, coach said I'm coming in. He's like, are you sure? I'm like, yeah, I'm coming in. And he's like, all right. He gives me his gloves, and I line up. And I'm actually going up against a player who I played with in youth soccer, like U7, U8, U9, U10. I go up against him. The first PK he takes is like up to my left, and I put out my fist like this, and it just ricochets off my fist, and I hit it out with like my wrist here.
Oh my!
And I save it, right? And then we're up 1, and then we score the next one, and then I go in. If I save this, then we win the semifinal. And I'm going side to side. I'm going side to side. I'm going side to side. I don't know if I'm in the guy's head or not, but I'm going side to side. And then he takes the 5th PK, and he hits it right at me. And I just kind of like ricochet it like that, and we're off to finals. We go off to finals, and we tie Fordham 0-0. It's either 0-0 or 1-1. I can't remember. But we go to PKs again, and it's 1-1. I take a PK. Ryan Mira was the keeper for Fordham. Do you remember him? Ryan Mira, he played for Red Bull.
Okay, no.
He's one of the younger guys.
Uh-huh.
Kind of looks like Larry Bird. But you look up Ryan Mira and Larry Bird and you'll know what I'm talking about. So Ryan Mira, I played against him throughout my whole club career and throughout my whole high school career. And, I knew he was a very good goalie. And so we go to PKs. He actually saves my PK, and the referee calls it back because he jumped off his line too soon. And so we line up again, and I'm thinking I'm just going to smash this because I tried to place it the first time, and he read it. For the second time, I smashed it lower left corner, and he doesn't get it. The next PK is when I jump in as a goalie. So it's we're tied 2-2, and then I go in as 3. The next 3 on the fourth PK is I go in and I'm looking to stop the fourth shooter, and he shoots it and I block it, and we score 1. So now we're up 1. And then on the fifth one, it was an absolute laser. I remember it because it was a headline in the paper, and it was Mazzullo, something with an M, but it was like the penalty kick taker's name was like Mazzullo or Maruzzo, something like that, something with the Zo. And he lines up and he just rips it, and I jockey to the left, like I'm going left, and then I lunge to the right and hits my hands. I want to see if I can find the clip and send it to you because it was actually a pretty sick PK save. And so I jockey to the left and I lunge to the right, and I save it. And I just hear like the whole stadium erupt. We were playing at St. John's University, and we had a lot of fans from our school show up. And the whole place erupts, and just complete elation. We just won cities. We're going on to states. We win state semis, and we lose in the state finals, I think, to like Chaminade, who was like a powerhouse team back then. But like that junior year was a special year for me just because of like how much fun we had with that group of players, and winning cities, and the fashion in which we did it, and how I went in as a goalie for the penalty shootout, and was able to save a few PKs, and ended up winning, bringing some hardware to the school. But I remember the headline. It was like, Garcia blocks laser from Mazzullo or Maruzer. Yeah, it was laser from Blazer.
Laser from Blazer.
And I remember that headline. I think I have the newspaper. I think my mom has it actually. I'm gonna see if I can get that over so you can get that photo that my mom has. But that was a special year. And then the next year, I think everyone expected us to do really well. We were undefeated in the regular season, and then once we got to playoffs, we made it all the way to the finals. And then there was just one play where a player was unmarked, and they slipped the ball through between an outside back and a center back, and they ended up slotting it home, and we lost to Fordham 1-0. So that was how I ended my senior year. So yeah, from there I was getting recruited. Do you have any questions about high school?
No.
Okay.
I'm just amazed that you played striker, winger, fullback, goalkeeper.
Yeah, it was fun though. That was so much fun.
Yeah.
That was so much fun because just being in high school at the time, like we were the talk of the high school because we had just won cities, and everyone was talking about how I went in as a goalkeeper, even though I'm not a goalkeeper, and I saved 2 or 4.
You're either gonna be the hero, or you're gonna look like an idiot.
I know.
That's the thing. There's no in between.
And it worked out. And that was an incredible year.
So playing every position in high school. Obviously, you did well.
Didn't do center mid. Center mid is one I never played. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And center back, neither.
Center back. So now we're getting into senior year. Senior year, I started playing, and that's why we had like a very, very good attack, and I could play a position where I was more comfortable in, and I felt like I had the most experience as a defender, and I had been my third year with varsity, and so they put me as the sweeper back there.
Okay.
For my senior year, and so that was kind of like the first year. Not really the first year, but I was also playing with Wilmer Cabrera, who put me as a center back and as an outside back, but Wilmer primarily, when we had our full squad with Gacci, I always played left back, and we had also a sweeper stopper combo, actually. And we had a very good team. We maybe had like 8 or 9 players that were ODP players on that team 4 national team players, 5 or 6 regional team guys, and it was a mix between like the 89 players and the 90 players. So it was a very talented group. We played in Region 1. We did well. We won states. We went on to Region 1 Premier. We went undefeated in Region 1 Premier. We won that. We went on to regionals. We lost in regionals to like Casamiya Bay, which was like a powerhouse team. They had more national team players than we had. A bunch of Maryland players who went on to win nationals that year. But very good team. But that was the exposure I had as center back. It was with Wilmer. Sometimes he put me at center back and put me as a stopper. But with high school, I started playing sweeper, and I had pretty good a group of players around me, so I felt comfortable playing sweeper, and they didn't need me to play forward or play on the flank. So senior year was a lot of fun too, but obviously you don't have that that championship accolade that you always try for every year. We did win the regular season title, and we were undefeated, and that's all good, but you always strive for that championship, that postseason hardware.
Yeah, that's pretty. I mean, that's a pretty good high school career. A lot of winning. And then, so did your brother go and play college?
My brother, so he went on to play at George Washington University.
Okay.
He went there on a scholarship, and that's where it was very tough for him to balance footy and his social life and his studies, and that's when soccer was starting to suffer a little bit. GW being the school that it is, attracts a lot of people from all over the world, and there's just a lot of distractions. And I think my brother, very talented as he is, just kind of lacked that discipline. And after the second year, he was mulling over staying at GW or going to Fairfield to play footy at Fairfield. And he decided that the relationships and the education he was going to get from GW outweighed his desire to play footy at Fairfield. So he ended up finishing his career at GW, and he went on to get into music and finish his major and his studies at GW. But quickly, so like I'm talking about like where I met a lot of these players early on, whether it was Little Neck Rangers and who I stayed in touch with, and also this Gotchi team and this high school team. So like what we all had in common is that competitive drive. We all wanted to win, and we all were extremely driven to be the best in the state. I'm still close to all these people on these teams. Like not all these people, but a handful of people from each one of these teams. From high school, these are the guys I invited to my wedding. Yeah. Right, 4 or 5 of the guys who I played with.
I didn't get the invite, by the way.
Well, it was a pandemic. No, it was before the pandemic. I didn't know you yet. I was going to blame it on the pandemic, but no, it was before I even met you. Yeah. Well, my wife and we got married right before the pandemic hit. It was November 2019. Yeah, 2019. Yeah, 11/30/19. That's our anniversary. So it was before I came to Tulsa. It was my last year with the Dynamo. But yeah, they were at my wedding, and guys from my Villanova team, like the relationships I've formed from the teams I've played on are long-lasting, lifelong relationships, and they're people who I talk to daily, whether it be about footy, whether it be about education, whether it be about other real life stuff that we're all going through. Like we kind of maintain that relationship, maintain that contact, and we try to hit like a little reunion in the off season. So it's important that you maintain those relationships, and going through the adversity and going through those tough moments on these teams kind of develops that strong bond with you and those guys, and you always want to make sure you stay in touch with them, and you just have a really strong connection with these players, and I've maintained that connection with these guys. So soccer for me has been just great for meeting people of all different backgrounds, and for just networking and making sure that you stay in contact with these people, because you never know what's going to happen in the future. And it's like even working with Wilmer, look at that, like there's an example right there. I had him as a U14 player, and he goes on to be my professional coach at MLS level. So
that's pretty crazy.
I know.
What's funny? I was just talking. Kieran was my last guest. And Kieran was just like, because Mike Incian was his youth coach.
Oh wow. I
Yeah.
didn't know that.
And then so yeah, Mike did like the TSA Academy like with Kieran. And then I was like, yeah, I think you're like the first person I've ever talked to whose youth coach ended up being their pro coach. And now right after that, Wilmer Cabrera was like your youth coach at U14, and then was your pro coach, which is crazy.
And he was a very strict coach. So like high school years, it's very easy to mess around, and you know, you just have shorter attention spans when you're in high school. Not you, no, definitely not you. No. And you know, just being on trips more than anything is just like, you think like you have freedom and you're with your friends and you're staying in a hotel and you guys can mess around and stay up late and all this stuff. Wilmer was so strict and so disciplined. I think he instilled some of that discipline and made sure that he kind of corrected us a bit at that age, and I think that was important for us to kind of realize and develop that that attitude and that mentality for you know, later on in life. And I was disciplined, but I wasn't as disciplined as I should have been. And Wilmer, knowing how his playing career went, playing for the Colombia national team, playing in World Cups, playing professionally for I don't know how many years more. I played professionally at 16 years old, maybe retired at 34, 35. So playing close to 20 years, you know, I had a lot of respect for him. And I knew that if I was going to listen to anybody, it was going to be Wilmer. And if he's telling me I need to, you know, act a certain way, then I need to make sure that I start to develop these habits. So Wilmer was very strict, and we did a lot of running because we were still kind of breaking old habits. And in our first year, second year, having him as a coach, he wanted to make sure he created a competitive and hardworking culture, and that was breaking some bad habits that we have of messing around and training, messing around on the trips, getting distracted at training, and I think that served as a very good stepping stone for getting ready for college and getting ready for all the other coaches that I had after Wilmer, because every coach has their different style of coaching and style of interacting with the players. So it's important for me to get that exposure early on and know professionally how I needed to act.
Yeah, that's a good age to get that too. Yeah. Versus if you're going like no rules up until you're 21 and then you enter your first pro team, you're gonna get destroyed.
Yeah.
So now, like with high school, obviously you kind of knew how the college soccer system worked with your brother. How did that recruiting process go for you? And then how did talk about the school that you ended up choosing?
So I mean, I was very ambitious. I saw some of my teammates getting recruited by UConn, getting recruited by Maryland.
How was your GPA too?
My GPA, I think it was pretty good. So we used
smiley
numbers.
faces and unhappy faces.
No, I remember I had like a 90, like it wasn't great, but I had like a 90, I think freshman and sophomore year. And this is what happened in college too. But my freshman and sophomore year, I slacked off a bit, and junior and senior year is where I start to mature and pick it up.
I was the exact opposite.
Really?
Yeah. I was the exact opposite.
That's
both for high school and college.
So you start off on a good note.
Start off great, and then I'm having a 4.0 going to my senior year. I'm like, whatever.
So yeah, I had like a 90, which is like an A minus, B plus, right in the middle there. What is that, like a 3.1 or a 3.2 or something like that?
Higher, I think.
Is it higher?
Yeah.
3.2, 3.2,
like
whatever it is.
7 or something.
No, not 90.
Yeah, 90s are A minuses.
Okay, I had an A minus, grade point average.
Yeah.
And that's we took like the SAT, and that was important for us. So SAT I did decently well. I think I got a 1340 on the SAT out of 1600. So that was good enough for me, and I didn't need to take it again. And like I said, I was very ambitious. I wanted to play at one of these ACC schools. I wanted to play at the schools where I had the best, or arguably the best players in the country. And my buddies, Matt Uwe, who was at residency, Yannick Salmon, who was getting recruited by Maryland, played his first year at Maryland. I wanted to play at these schools. And knowing how high profile our team was and where a lot of scouts were coming to watch us play, and these guys were a year older than me, so I was next in line, right? So I was able to showcase my talent a little bit. while they were already getting ready to leave for college. So it was always good to get in front of the eyes of these coaches. And I was getting recruited by Boston College was one of them. I was getting recruited by Seton Hall, St. John's, Hofstra, Adelphi, North Carolina State, and University of Santa Barbara, which I really wanted to go to.
Oh wow! I would have played against you.
Really?
Yeah.
I really wanted to go to Santa Barbara.
They have have you seen their stadium and everything?
No, I never got to visit, and I'm gonna get to that because I really wanted to go to Santa Barbara. But growing up in a Colombian family, it's just very close.
Yeah.
Very affectionate group. And my mom and my dad didn't want me to move halfway across the country or the whole way across the country and be so far for them, and they wouldn't be able to come see me play. And so they said, please try to stay a little bit closer. Santa Barbara also didn't offer me the amount of scholarship that I wanted or that other schools were offering. So ended up staying local. I actually, believe it or not, got a full scholarship from Hofstra and was ready and verbally committed to Hofstra, and told my parents that I really wanted to go to an HCC school, but they weren't offering the full scholarships that my family wanted. And my dad said, listen, go to Hofstra, do really well in your first year, transfer out and go to the school that you want to. Prove to them that you are a full scholarship player. And I said, all right, I'll do that. And you'll be close to home. You'll be 45 minutes from home. So we'll be able to see you play every single weekend, and you'll be able to come home for Sunday lunch with us, and you'll be able to do laundry at home. So it's not too far, but it's also close enough where you can make these trips. I'd signed the letter of intent, and my mom was getting ready to send it in the mail. And I had just come back from playing in a regional tournament with ODP, and I had played in a Disney Showcase with our Region 1 team, and there were a few schools there still scouting me, and Ian Clairhugh from Villanova University had seen me play. And then I get, while I'm in school, I get a text message from one of the representatives from my club, Scott Knight, and he sends me a message, hey, Villanova just reached out to me. Are you interested? I said, yeah, I'd be interested. I'd go check it out. And he says, like, okay, well, they're talking about an unofficial visit for this weekend. And it was like a Wednesday. And my mom had already taken the letter of intent. His mom was a teacher, so she had already gone to school. It was in her car. She was going to take it after school. It was like 1:00 in the afternoon. I told my mom, whatever you do, please do not drop off the letter of intent. I want to go visit another school. And she said that that was really close. It might have been closer to end of school time. I got out of school, I saw a text message, and then my mom was on the way to go drop it off in the mailbox. Yeah. And she said, I was on my way to drop it off, but thankfully you texted me, and now I'm not going to do it. And so, so yeah, it was really
literally
close.
A couple hours later, and
yep,
you would have been going to Hofstra.
Yep. And so it happened very quickly. We set up the unofficial visit. And I go to Villanova. It was a 2.5-hour drive from Queens, and I spend the weekend there. I spent the weekend, right? No. I spent the day there. I went with my parents because it was unofficial. Official, yeah. I think you spend the night. Yeah. Unofficial, I got there really early, saw the team train, got to meet with the coaching staff, got to meet the players, Tom Carlin and Ian Clairhugh. Ian Clairhugh was at Duke before Villanova, and I rated Ian Clairhugh highly. And just from what he was talking, he was actually the one who was scouting me at the Region 1 showcase down in Disney. And I got to talk to Ian a little bit and talking to Tom Carlin, and he told me everything I wanted to hear, and sold the dream to me, and I wanted to play at Villanova. I wanted to be part of this group. It was a very close-knit group, very family-oriented group, and that's kind of similar to how I was at home with my family in my clubs. Mm-hmm. And it's something I wanted to be a part of. And I committed to Villanova, and had to give the phone call to the Hofstra coach at the time, and it wasn't a very pleasant phone call.
That's not fun.
I told him, and he just kind of stayed silent for a bit. And I felt terrible because
you already completely verbally committed. You're like, I'm going to your school.
I verbally committed.
You said, did you tell him that you it's signed? I'm going to be sending in the mail here soon. Everything.
Yeah, and the thing is, when I verbally committed over the phone, and he let out this Yahoo over the phone. And his kids were there, and I was just like, I was just torn. I was like, now I have to tell this nice coach, really nice guy, that I'm decommitting from his school, and I'm committing to another school. And I said, I appreciate you and everything and the belief you've shown in me as a player, and I hope that you really do have a good season next year, but. Villanova is just the best fit for me and my family. So I'm going to commit to Villanova. And I was happy with my decision. I went up to Villanova. And
I think that's where you first learned that, like, it's a business, like that's where I had that first uncomfortable phone call with the coach at Oregon State. Same thing.
Yeah.
I told him, I'm going to come to your school, blah, blah, blah. And then you have to call him. And I felt like I almost wanted to go to Oregon State because I didn't want to have that conversation. Yeah. And then my dad's like, no, it's a business. You have to be a man about this. If you really want to do something else, call him, tell him. And it happens all the time. Yeah. It's going to be an uncomfortable 5 minutes, but get it over with.
Yeah.
And then you realize, like, dang, this is not just like playing around anymore. This is people's lives depend on like your career, your everything, paycheck, all that stuff.
Yeah, exactly. And, that was the first time I actually realized, like you said, that it's not all fun and games anymore. Like, people depend on certain players, on certain commitments, on their roster, and now they're making adjustments because you made a decision. Yeah. So that decision I stand by, and if I'd go back, I'd do it again because it led me to where I am. It led me to a great career at Villanova. I went in that freshman year, like I said, really ambitious, really striving to be one of the best freshmen in the Big East. I always set out with lofty goals, with really high goals to attain them. I set out with smaller goals just to kind of, lead up to those big goals. But I wanted to make sure that I have these bigger goals in my eyes so that I know what I'm working towards. In that first year, I wanted to make sure that I was one of the fit players on the team, and that freshman year, like, everyone was talking about fitness test. Like, I don't know how it was for you when you're in your first year, but we had like a camp. Like, I think each college team does like a summer camp where they invite like a bunch of kids that high school year, and you have a lot of their current players who come out and coach the players, and they also have like a summer training there too. They sneak it in, right? It's like unofficial summer training.
Captain's practice where the coach is up with the binoculars in the parking lot. Yeah.
And so the coach said, it was voluntary, but we'd really like for you to come to that camp, and we'll set you up. It'll be like a 5-day thing. You can get to know the players and start to form the relationship, that bond with those players, and that you're going to be playing with this year. You'll run the fitness test, getting ready for the fitness test, preparing for it. And I remember early on, they let us know that fitness was important, like that fitness test. And they sent this whole big packet, how to prepare for the fitness test. And I made sure I studied that so hard and did that work and went to the track by myself, had my timer, was doing the 800s. We had to do 8 800s in 2 minutes and 50 seconds with a minute break in between. So you do 1 800, 2 laps around the track in 2 minutes and 50 seconds. You take a minute break, you do it again. You take a minute break, you do it again. You take a minute break, you do it again. You do 4 of them. Then you have a 10-minute break. That 10-minute break is supposed to simulate halftime. Okay. And the first 4 800s is supposed to simulate the first half. And you have a 10-minute break. And then you have to do it again. Another 4 800s. So you do an 800-minute break, 800-minute break, 800-minute break. And then that last 800 is always the hardest one, but kind of, but it's not, because it's the last one, and I think you can do like one of anything. Once you get to the 8th one, it's just like pure adrenaline, pure will, and you just want to get over the line in the time. But I was killing it. Like, the goal was 250, but I was starting to get 245, started to get 243, 241, 240, and I'm here thinking, like, I just want to make sure that I don't leave a bad impression for the upperclassmen and for the coaching staff. I want to make sure that they know that I'm serious about it, and that I'm going to put myself in the best position to help the team. Yeah. And that's, right now, it's doing the packet and making sure I'm as fit as possible for my first year in college soccer. And we go to do the summer camp, and I notice I'm probably like top 2 fittest guys on the team. Yeah. Me and the captain coming up for that year. and I'm doing really well. I'm running it in like 240. And freshman year, I go into it, I run it 240, like under 240 every single 800. I'm doing really well, and I'm starting as a left back. We were a group of 10 freshmen, and I think we were like a top 25 recruiting class. And so we had very good players from New York, from Maine, from New Jersey, from PA. We had a player from Florida.
Oregon.
Did we have any Oregon? No players from Oregon. We didn't go out. Yeah, we didn't venture out there.
Usually, like the East Coast is always kind of like a lot of the stay on the East Coast. A lot of
Yeah,
West
the
Coast
local
people
guys.
stay on the West
Yeah,
Coast.
you go for the local guys. And myself and Chris Bresnahan, who's again my buddy to this day, one of my best friends to this day, were the two starters for that team in the early on, like when we were starting preseason. And I was doing really well, and I remember kind of hitting, kind of just running into a wall in like halfway through my freshman year, where I just kind of peaked a little bit, went through some adversity, and wasn't able to overcome it as quickly as I wanted to. I think that I was so accustomed to playing, possession-oriented footy, and that transition to college soccer was a change from that. It became not always possession-oriented, but it needed to be some games where you grind out, where you're physical, where you're doing a lot of the dirty work. And as a high school player, and the team we played on, we dominated possession.
Mm-hmm.
So I never really was exposed to that kind of soccer, and I didn't really have to like rely on my defensive principles or intangibles that you rely on in these games where you don't have possession, where you're not the most technical player, or you're not on the most technical team. And so I think that early on in preseason, and the coach told me this, and even the captain did too, like you were like top 2 players in preseason. You were doing so well. You were running up and down the flank. You were whipping balls in with your left foot. Like I said, like playing on the left side helped me out so much because I made a career out of playing on the left side.
Yeah. And you still play left side.
And I still play on the left side.
Yeah.
And I was doing so well. And
to be honest, it took me like a while, and I had to ask people like, is he left-footed or right-footed? Why is he hitting all these dimes with his left foot? It doesn't make any sense.
Donovan still thinks I'm left-footed. I'm like, Donovan, no, like I'm naturally right-footed. I just use my left foot a lot, and it's become very natural. He's like, no, you're left-footed, man.
Nah, man.
You're left-footed, man. No, I don't want to hear it. You're left-footed.
That's funny.
And so.
But there is less competition over there.
There is less competition.
Like left back
Absolutely.
is usually the I don't want to say the weaker, but usually there's less left backs in the world out there, you know?
Yeah. And so like that freshman year, I got like I was a starter for the first half of the season, and then I got benched for I want to say 2 or 3 games. And I think the coach even told me like I did that to see how you would respond because I want you on the field, but you just weren't in the right headspace. Yeah. And I was a little bit frustrated that we were playing a little bit more direct. We were changing up our playing style, and I just wasn't responding. I just wasn't responding well to that change of style, and I was a little bit bitter. And I remember one game, I was a little bit pissed off that players weren't coming to the ball, they weren't showing for it, and coach liked hitting it down that channel. Yeah. And I was so frustrated because I'd never played like that. And at one game, like one moment, I just bombed it forward with my left foot. And then I made a point like I don't like hitting the ball down the line. Very immature of me. I was extremely immature. And after that game, the coach took me out and he also benched me. And I was going in as a sub, but he benched me. I wasn't a starter anymore. And moved me on. Like after the third game, I started to, talk to some of the upperclassmen, ask them what I could have done better, and talk to the head coach to like, what do you need me to do better so that I can be on the field more? And they actually moved me higher up the field and put me at outside mid as a freshman. And we went on to play in the playoffs, and we played against Providence. And Providence, I think we lost 1-0 in the playoffs, but I think it was a good year for me to learn how to adapt to different playing styles and learn to play for a different coach and, just not be immature and be coachable. And I think that all these little lessons that you learn each point in your career, in your youth career, in your high school career, in your college career, are all important and lead to having that versatility to play for different coaches, play in different positions, play in different playing styles, play in different leagues. And I think that first year was another lesson for me to take note of. And following year, sophomore year and junior year and senior year, I came back. And sophomore and junior year, I came back and was playing as an outside back, primarily as a left back. But they moved me on to the left mid every now and then just to kind of create some more spark in the attack. Believe it or not, Shelly, when this old man was younger, he used to get up and down the pitch a lot more. All right, you might not see it. You might see it 1 or 2 runs a game now, but back then, dude, I loved to run up and down the flank. I loved cheating, like as an outside back, as a left back. I loved seeing the D mid get the ball and like start to release and ready to get the ball in stride. I loved that feeling of being in the attack and trying to take on players or combine and whip a ball in. For me, it was just such a joy to play on the flank, and I really want to take it, like, and especially with how fit I was, how like I prided I took a lot of pride in being fit and making sure that I would turn the opposition's outside mid into a right back defending me, because in college you see a lot of the outside mids running doggies, tracking the outside backs. So I wanted to make sure I got up in the attack, and I wanted to make sure I provided as good a service as I could, and was a kind of like another attacking option for the team going forward. And the coach wanted me to play as an outside mid, just to kind of we had a bit of a stale of it. We went through a rough patch my sophomore year, and we had a bit of a stale attack, and he wanted to kind of change things up. So he put me at outside mid, and I had a few assists and I had a few goals. And I don't know what I finished my career with. You probably have the stat than I do, but I probably finished with like 6 goals and 7 assists, whatever it was. Wasn't a lot, but I played a lot of the flank and outside back. I still never played center back for my college team.
Yeah,
I
feel like so many pros do that though. Like so many pros end up unless you're like a number 9 striker, true striker.
Yeah.
Or you're a true center back a lot of the times, but most players will move around, especially if you're a wide player. You're going to be moving, dropping back, pushing back forward, doing something like that. And I think like it helps you understand the game so much. Yeah. It helps you like even be able to feel more confident directing and pushing and moving players around. Yeah. And then I think too, as you get older, you start to kind of like come back a little bit too. Typically.
Yeah, I think that, you start to learn.
So funny though. No center back at all. No center back. Except for a little bit in high school.
A little bit in high school, a little bit with Wilmer. Yeah. A little bit with Wilmer because, and with Wilmer, we sometimes played that, I said stopper sweeper role, but we also sometimes did the flat 4 in the back. Like we played stopper sweeper when we had one player healthy. And now that I realize it was because of that player that we played sweeper stopper. But when he was out, we played a flat floor in the back. Yeah. Because that stopper was very good with his feet, and he was very tall. He won aerial balls, and he just facilitated. That stopper has
to win everything.
Yeah.
Win everything, absolutely. And then play switching the sides. And I would play. I played a little sweeper back in the club days with the stopper sweeper. Yeah.
Oh man.
Because I was the just always fast and fit.
Every long ball you chase down.
It was always we had the big stopper who would do the same thing whenever he had her. But if any ball went over him, I would just chase down the striker. Yeah. And then that's how we played.
It worked, man.
Yeah, it does work.
It worked. If you have the right players, it can work.
Yeah. That's funny though.
And then so college, and then so summer ball. So summer ball is extremely important because I'd go back home in New York, and I'd play with Red Bull U20, and also Long Island Rough Riders.
Where was the Red Bull U20? Was that, what league was that at that time? That's not PDL, is it?
That's not PDL. It's just the U20, like U20 Super Y or whatever. I don't know if it was Super Y, but it was like a different U20. It was like summer league.
We started talking back in the 1980s, so this is like the soccer system's looking a lot different.
It did change from U20 to U23s, and that wasn't PDL either. So
U23s but U23s was PDL in like
for me,
2012, 2011.
That was the last year I played with Red Bull U23.
So you must have been right before that switch.
Right on the cusp, yeah. So we after my freshman year, I actually went on an international trip to Italy and played in a tournament called Trofeo del Sena. And we took a lot of the players from the tri-state area, that's Connecticut, New York, New Jersey, and we took like a really talented team over to Italy and played with players from Boston College, who played in Boston College, Rutgers, Villanova, players who were at USF. So we had a really talented team. We went over and we were playing against the academy teams of Genoa. We were playing against Atalanta. We were playing against, there was AC Milan in that tournament too.
Wow.
The first game we played was against, the name was like Internazionale, but it was like the,
Encarnacion.
it was like,
Little Nacho Libre for you.
oh my God.
I was
Oh
hoping
my
you get that.
Yeah.
Hold on, let me-
Nacho.
Encarnacion.
So we go over and we start playing with the academies of Italy and Trofeo del Sena. And I'd never heard of the tournament, but apparently it's a really big tournament for the local academy teams and even international teams. Like Grêmio from Brazil was actually at the tournament too. So we go there and we're like, we're competing with these guys. We're like the next big players in the world. And I remember going up against the team who ended up winning the whole thing. Spoiler alert. The first game, and we lost 2-0. And I think like seeing them play clean with the ball, opening up when they get the ball, playing 1-2 touches, turning so well with it, like professional, like just like so clean and so complete.
Yeah.
And just work together as a unit. It just for me it was so cool to see it at first year out of college, or first year as a freshman in college, and seeing how players and these are also like, what, I'm 18 years old. We're a bunch of 18-year-olds and we're playing against 17 and 18 years as well. So we're seeing how they are doing in Italy, and how these are players who potentially are gonna get brought up to the first team. So we're playing against the first game is against the hardest team in the tournament, and they beat us 2-0. The next game we play against, I want to say, I'm blanking on it, but I don't know if it was Atalanta. No, Atalanta was the third game. It was a tournament.
How'd
We
you
played the
remember
first
so
three
good?
games. I don't know.
I
don't know.
feel
But,
like you'd be
these-
senile by now.
And the second game we ended up winning 1-0, and I think the next game we needed to win to be like a wild card into the playoffs. And we were tied 1-1 with Atalanta. If we tied that game, we were out. And we started to kind of find our feet a little bit, started gaining some confidence. We did have some very talented players. And we ended up scoring a goal in like the 89th minute, 2-1. And we get that win, and we're on to the playoffs. And there was like a big celebration because like now Americans were getting respect. Like going into it, a lot of people didn't like, these Americans aren't going to match up with our local Italian players or our local very talented world-renowned academy teams that are coming into play. And we did well, and like we proved to them like we're in the playoffs now. We go up against Genoa in the first round of the playoffs. And I think it was a two playoff game. Like, so like four teams? 4 teams went on to play in the playoffs. It was like AC Milan, Genoa, our team.
What was the name of your team? What was that?
I'm gonna have to get back to you on that. It was literally just for that summer though. It was just like a team that was created just for going to this tournament.
Yeah.
I'm blanking on the name, but I'm gonna get
I'm
that name
just
to you.
cracking up because I'm imagining like AC Milan, Genoa, Atalanta.
It was a random name.
And then like the Rough Riders from Long Island.
It was a random, like the Rough Riders had a bigger name than we did at the time, because we were just a team that was assembled for the purpose of competing in this tournament. Yeah.
Dirty Mike and the boys.
It really was. And so it's us, Genoa, AC Milan, and again, like this was like a youth national. Like, can you picture U17 national team, but like the C squad?
Mm-hmm.
This is what it was like, Italian national team, but the C squad for the Italian national team. They were playing in this tournament, and they were by far the best team.
Yeah.
And they were also in the playoffs. So it was we were the last 4 teams. We played up against Genoa, and I line up against El Shaarawy.
Wow.
I didn't know it at the time. He was 16 years old.
Yeah,
I didn't know it at the time. But
did he have the hair?
he had the hair.
Really?
Yeah, no, well, not like the big prominent hair that he had at AC Milan, but like it was kind of growing into that.
It was in the
But he had a mohawk.
mod.
He had a mohawk. Yeah, he had the mohawk. But like kind of like a shorter mohawk.
Yeah.
But this guy had wheels. Like he was fast, and at the time, like I thought I was pretty fast too, and I did my best to like kind of keep him in front. I didn't want him like 1v1s. I was very aggressive, and we did pretty well like matching up against him. But he stood out because he's such a good dribbler. And he was playing right wing. I was playing left back, and I remember him playing a 1-2 with somebody, and he was drifting inside, and then someone from the outside played him a ball to the across the box, and he one-timed it, and it curled upper 90. It was like unstoppable.
Yeah.
It was unstoppable, and not even like the ball didn't roll to him. It went in with pace.
Yeah.
And he hit it with such quality that it just no goalie was going to save that. We're down 1-0. We go in at half, down 1-0. Second half, we pick up the play and we tie it up 1-1. We have momentum now, and it's a little bit back and forth. And then we end up getting an opportunity late in the game, and we go up 2-1, and we win the game like in the late 89th minute again, and we beat Genoa.
There you go.
And we go
Come
up
on, the
against,
boys.
and then AC Milan, who actually had a D mid, who actually we followed this up later, like a year later or something. The D mid at AC Milan who was playing ended up making an appearance for the first team like the following year.
Wow.
Which was sick to
Yeah.
see. Just being so close to professional players and knowing like these are the guys, like this is what professional players are like in Europe. This is the gap between you and them.
Mm-hmm.
And it was just cool to see like being so close to that.
Yeah.
And because that's always for us in that group, like we all wanted to play pro, so it was cool to see what these players were like, how good they were with the ball, how tactically smart they were, and just like their intensity, their work ethic. It was really cool to see. And so back to the tournament, the Italian C squad beats AC Milan 2-1. And now we match up with the Italian C squad in the finals. And there's this whole presentation, and the stadium's pretty full. And like we're getting flowers, and like we walking out, and there you play like the music, and then it's game time. And I remember this was like one of the first times where like playing in a stadium with like fans and like being nervous, like. Playing against talented players who are going to go on to play professionally most likely, and also playing against a team that beat us in the first game. I want to say it was 1-0 they beat us I remember it was 1-0 they beat us in the first game, and we wanted payback. And we in that game we couldn't match up. I think they had grown as a team. They gotten a lot better as a team as the tournament went on, and we late in the first half, we gave up a goal to them, 1-0, and then the second half, they also I think finished on a corner. They didn't have a lot of opportunities, but just their play, they just finished the match out well, and they beat us 2-0 in the final. But we took our defeat and we took our lessons from that tournament, and it was just cool to play against El Shaarawy, play against these academy teams, 17, 18-year-olds who are one step away from playing with the first team. And just learn a lot from them and know what we need to work on to get to where they're going to.
I think that's so important to go up against people that are where you want to be, because you're surrounded by like college soccer players.
Yeah.
So then that's who you're thinking, and then you have no idea like, okay, what's the level like at AC Milan's U18 academy team?
Yeah.
And then to see that and play against it and be like, oh, it's close, or we beat them or whatever, you're like, okay, it probably motivated you to be like, yep, I want to be a pro. I want to do this. I can do it. Kind of instilled that. You're so close, motivating. So that's a good experience for sure.
So cool. And that was the summer ball, and I think that summer ball always prepared me for a good college season. And I think that's something I always focused on my sophomore, junior year. Before my next seasons, I'd play with Red Bull U20 or U23, where I got to play with a lot of good players like Dilly Duca, who went on to play with the Fire, Columbus Crew, Montreal Impact. Played with Connor Lade, who played, I want to say 6 or 7 or 8 years with New York Red Bull, homegrown player. Played with a lot of the players who went through that team and ended up playing, whether it was overseas or playing in second and third tier leagues, and or playing for Filipino national team. It was just cool to kind of come together with all these talented players at Red Bull and be part of a professional academy and see how it operates on the player side. Also play with Long Island Rough Riders because I wanted to get a lot of exposure and I wanted to play competitively. And that sophomore to junior year, I played only with Red Bull. And then that junior to senior year, I played with Rough Riders and with Red Bull. And I tried to work it to where Red Bull is my main focus. And then Rough Riders, whenever I was back home in Queens and not living at school taking summer classes, I would go play with Rough Riders or go train with them because I was back home in Queens. But that drive, that commute from Queens to Red Bull facility or from Villanova to Red Bull facility was like an hour and a half every single day. And that's kind of the sacrifice you need to make to kind of go out and play in that competitive environment and put yourself in the position to continue growing as a player, to continue competing and developing that competitive nature and drive to getting to the next level. And so that's a sacrifice I needed to make, and I wanted to make sure that I put myself in the best position to keep growing as a player. And without those years, like training with Red Bull, training with the Rough Riders as well, because we had a very good team with the Rough Riders as well, it prepared me for a good college season, and it allowed me to continue to grow. I became the captain of Villanova for my junior year and my senior year. We always qualified for the playoffs, but it was just hard to get over that first playoff game hump. Providence had eliminated us my first 3 years at Villanova, and so that was like our kryptonite. And my senior year, finally we go off on the road and we play, who was it? Notre Dame. Away at Notre Dame. And Notre Dame, I think, was ranked at the time.
This is like 2011, 2012.
2011.
Yeah.
They were ranked, and they had very good, like a national team guy who ended up going to play at Colorado Rapids. I'm blanking on his name, but I'll find it. He was a very good player, highly rated. He wanted to play Colorado for like 6-7 years. Played as a D-mid. And we go to Notre Dame, and we're trying to get the monkey off our backs, trying to win that first playoff game. I'm playing as a left back. My whole senior year is the only year I played primarily as a left back and wasn't playing outside mid at like I did freshman, sophomore, and junior year.
Yeah.
And then we go to Notre Dame and we beat them 1-0 on the road. It was nuts. It was absolutely nuts because Notre Dame being the powerhouse that they are and us not being able to get past the first round of the playoffs. We go to Notre Dame. They're ranked. We beat them. Next game, USF. I think they're number 8 in the country. Yeah. Goes on to USF. We beat them off a free kick goal, which like ended up squeezing between a wall and going to the far corner or far low corner of the post, and the keeper couldn't get it. We go on to beat USF, and they had a lot of players go pro that year, like Jeff Antonella. Played against Jeff Antonella, who's still playing pro. Played against a good group of players from that USF team. Played against Dom Dwyer.
Oh yeah,
Dom Dwyer. He was a forward. Yeah.
Yeah.
That was his last year as a forward. He won Biggest Player of the Year that year, and we were marking him. And I was playing left back. Kyle McCarthy was playing center back. And Kyle McCarthy did a great job marking Dom Dwyer. And we just always knew he was their danger player. So whenever he got the ball, we had to double him or make it extremely difficult for him to get comfortable.
Yeah.
And get going with the ball because he was very good with the ball. He had a very good left foot. He could run in behind. He was just a pest. And
he played against one of my close friends too, Wes Sharpie.
Wes Sharpie.
He plays at Louisville now.
He played USF?
Yeah. Yeah.
They had a squad. Like they were good.
Like Ben Sweat, wasn't Ben Sweat there?
Ben Sweat, yeah. Zach Boggs, who played at New England Revolution. Ben Sweat played New York City FC.
Yeah.
Right. They had good players, very good players, and they used their flanks really well. But we squeaked in that goal, and we got out of there with the win. And now we're going on to play the Big East semifinal at Red Bull Arena, and we play St. John's, and that was probably one of my best games as a college player. I was playing against them in Red Bull Arena, and we came up short. Like it's just crazy how footy, there's just like these little moments that just define the game because we're 0-0 neck and neck, 79th minute or 80th minute. We get an opportunity. Keeper saves it. He's out of goal. We get a rebound. Guy saves it off the line. And 4 minutes later, they score off, I want to say a header. A header, and the player, it was just like a mismatch, and the player scored off a header. And then the second goal they scored was the keeper and the center back, our center back, chasing a long ball down into the box, and the center back didn't know that the forward was working behind them to chase down the ball. And he's just, you see the keeper running out, and you see the center back running, trying to just guide the ball back. And the forward just runs in. Walter Hines, I played with him actually growing up. Walter Hines comes in, he's really quick, really agile. He comes in and he just like toe pokes it past the goalie, and we're down 2-0. Oh man, I was just devastated because that was the end of my college career. Devastated.
Last game sucks.
Last game, and I thought we really could have beat. Like, it's just
especially
hard.
when it's not expected and ends like that.
Yeah, like you're so close to scoring,
yeah,
and then all of a sudden you get scored on, and you're like, okay, we're gonna push forward, we're gonna throw numbers forward, and then all of a sudden, that little mishap with the keeper and center back,
and then boom, there's your college career.
College career is done.
Yeah,
my family had come out to see me play. My friends had come out to see me play. I teared up a little bit. Just for because it's the end of your career for your team, right? It's and you don't know what comes next. You want to play pro, right? But you really don't know what comes next. And I ended up getting drafted by New England Revolution. That year.
At this time, you had graduated, right? You graduated
No,
college.
I didn't graduate.
Oh, you didn't graduate.
I didn't graduate. So that's actually why I didn't spend more time with New England Revolution. I was drafted. And the coach, Jay Heaps, great guy, he didn't know I didn't graduate. And I went 2 weeks with New England in preseason, and I was with them at Arizona preseason trip, Casa Grande, and I also trained with them at their Foxborough facility in New England. And I pulled Jay Heaps aside and I said, hey, Jay, I wanted to talk to you about potentially going back to school to finish my degree because I have my last semester. He said, oh, you haven't gotten your degree yet? I said, no, I haven't gotten it, and I have my last semester. It's my last year on my scholarship, last semester on my scholarship, and, it'd mean a lot to me and my family if I got it done. He's like, no, you have to go back. Like, I understand, like, as a coach, like, I want you to be here, and I need players here if they want to make the team, but as also as, like, a person, as someone who went to Duke University, finished my degree, I think it's important for you to go back to school and finish out your degree. But as a coach, I have to tell you, your spot isn't guaranteed. You need to come back here and earn a spot on the team.
Yeah.
He said, you're going to be coming back mid-season, and we're going to be in stride. But if you want to do that, we can do that. And so just let us know when you're done with school. I said, all right, that sounds great. That little opportunity was all I needed to go back to school. I was going to go back regardless, but like him telling me, like, we want you to come back and we want you to try out and earn your spot on the team. I was driven. I was motivated. I did so much individual training outside of like the spring training that I was doing with my college soccer team at the time, but it wasn't about me anymore, right? Because I was already graduated and they were already focusing on the group for the following year.
Yeah.
So like there were some trainings where I had to sit out because we were too many numbers, but I always had to be like the odd man out because it wasn't about me anymore. And I had to do a lot of individual training work, and I'd go to the assistant coach's office and get balls, and we'd go work on driving balls, dribbling, controlling, just like little things to kind of sharpen up my game and keep me sharp enough to go transition to the pro game. And I graduate from college. I don't do any of the celebration. I go straight to New England, and this is what I want. Like, I wanted to be part of this professional atmosphere. I want to be in this environment. And I remember it being so much harder than when it was in preseason. And the speed was just, I don't know if the speed was quicker or if my speed slowed down. Or everyone was it's always easier the first 2 weeks of preseason because everyone's coming from, being rusty or playing pickup in the off season. And when you're coming mid-season, you're talking about guys are already in stride. They're fit. They're sharp.
Yeah.
They're pushing it every day.
And they've gotten 4 or 5 months of knowing each other. So then it's like, your teammates. Yeah. So now you're coming in kind of like from the fresh start again, trying to learn teammates, trying to learn tendencies, and also not probably, even though you did so much training, it's not the same as being with a professional team.
And it wasn't the same, and it showed. And I remember being there for I think 5 days, and Jay Heaps calls me into his office and he says, Kevin, I've gone back and forth on this 10 times, but we've decided we're not going to sign you. And for me, my heart stopped, because it's like, this is like the moment of truth. This is my opportunity to be a pro, and this is like what comes out of his mouth next is like very defining. And he says, we're not gonna sign you. I do think that you're gonna play in the MLS one day, but you need to go get experience. You need to go play games. You need to develop a little bit more. But if you need any help with tryouts or anything, let me know and I'll put your name out there. And at the time, I think I should have taken him up on that offer, just because of what I had to go through a year removed from college. But at the time, I thought, I was just very respectful and said, thank you for the opportunity. Hope to see you again one day. And I think I didn't follow up at all. I ended up going to Colorado Rapids, where I flew in for like a reserve game. Wilmer Cabrera was the assistant coach, and Oscar Parejas was the head coach. And this was 2012. I want to say they won it in 2012 or like 2011, Colorado Rapids. But I go in and they were looking for a right back to play. And I go in and I play in the MLS reserve game. I flew in on a Monday, trained on the Monday, and then played a game on a Tuesday. And I remember thinking that the altitude, like I'd never played an altitude like that.
Yeah.
And it was getting to me. And I did well enough, but I didn't do well enough to really warrant a contract. I ended up scoring a goal, actually, on a free kick. I went up for a header and I scored, and we tied against might have been Dallas or Houston Dynamo, one of the other reserve teams. And ended the training week, did like 3 more trainings, and then the coach I think wanted to see me in better shape because I was a bit gassed playing in high altitude, and maybe wasn't as sharp as the rest of the guys. But he saw me. He's like, now you're in the pool of players that we're considering, so make sure that we stay in touch. And I like went home. I got like a high altitude training mask. I made sure I went on runs. I wasn't gonna let that happen again. I wanted to make sure I was prepared for the high altitude. And then a month later, I give the coach a call, and he says, we're not signing anyone right now, but we'll let you know if anything changes. And I think that was like the first time I was kind of stuck, not knowing what to do. I reach out to my head coach, and he tells me that he knows assistant coach, and he tells me he knows somebody in the New Jersey area who's taking players, who works as like something of an unofficial agent, and he takes players to Europe for like scouting purposes and to get them exposure. And
at this time, were you like regretting going back and finishing a degree at all, or were you like, no, I'm happy I did that?
No, I think I need, because it was a full scholarship, and I needed to make sure that I did it for myself and for my family, because I didn't know if I was ever going to be able to go back and finish. And it was a really good degree from a good school, from Villanova. And
Villanova's okay.
It's all right, decent, top 10. But but the business program was a really good program, really prestigious program, and I was 4 classes away from completing it, and I really wanted to get that done. So I completed my finance degree, and I wanted to focus on professional soccer from then on. And I think I was still ambitious. Okay, I got rejected twice from MLS, but I'm extremely ambitious now. Like, maybe I do just need to play like 2nd tier in Europe or 3rd tier in Europe, and find a way to get more games in, get more exposure, develop my game more, get sharper, and grow as a player. And that's when I met one of the Polish unofficial coaches / agents, and we went over. He brought a team over from the United States, like New Jersey, New York, Connecticut, like for the Italian team, but this was more New Jersey guys. And we went over to Poland. And we had a bunch of scrimmages planned. It was against a 2nd tier team and a 3rd tier team, and I think a 1st tier team that actually fell through. And I had my eyes set on the 1st tier team because I wanted to play top tier in Poland. I think that would be a good stepping stone for getting noticed more in Europe, or coming back to the United States and getting a stronger foot in MLS. And we played the second tier team. I did pretty well. And then we played the third tier team. And the first tier team, that match fell through. But the second tier team, and the third tier team, I did well. And they invited me for a trial with the second tier team along with 2 other guys. And this is in LKS LODZ. It's pronounced LKS Woosh.
LKS Woosh.
There you go. And it's a very blue collar town, so not many people are speaking English. It's like very minimal English proficiency, and I don't communicate with the coach in English. We have like our unofficial agent / coach who's communicating and working out our contracts because we did well in the trial, and we actually played that second tier team twice. And we did well in the second game. I think the first game I want to say we tied or we won 1-0, one or the other. The second game, I think we tied like 1-1. But we did well enough to warrant a contract, and I'm just excited to sign a contract. I'm excited to get my career started. And it was just like I didn't know what the protocol was for signing foreign players and getting visa approved and whatnot. And so the unofficial agent / coach tells us that so we've signed your contracts here, the 3 of you, but you need to go back to New York and wait for the visa to get processed. And once the visa is processed, you can come back to Poland. And I remember thinking, like, well, I just want to stay here and play. Like, I don't want to go all the way back home. Like, we just flew all the way here. We trained and we're in shape. And we're like, okay. So then the next day we actually have like a mini tournament. This was like outside of playing the professional teams. We organized like I think no, it wasn't a mini tournament. We were playing in like a small cage turf facility, and it was just a training session. And I ended up striking the ball with my left foot, and I pulled my hamstring really bad. And I remember my unofficial agent / team coach saying, well, it's a good thing that you have to go back home to get the visa, because now you can work on your hamstring and prepare to come back to Poland. And that visa never came to fruition. Like we were there for 1 month, and then we're like, what's going on? Why is it taking so long? He's like, it's still processing. It's still processing. Second month, still happening. By the third month, we were kind of upset, and we're like, well, they're not even paying us. And then our unofficial agent / team coach said, well, here, I'll ask them for the third month payment, and then you guys can receive this money, and that way you guys know that they're for real. So we received the third month, 4th month, nothing. By the 5th month, that was already January. This all happened like in the summer after college. And then September, October, November, December, we're getting ready to just go join the team in Poland whenever they're ready to receive us and whenever we have our visas. By January, we find out that they're going to declare financial bankruptcy. So it wasn't the most financially stable team. So they're like, that kind of got my hopes up a little bit more, because that's 7 months removed, about 7 months removed from college. Had the run-in with New England, had the run-in with Colorado, had the run-in with Poland. It didn't work out, but it still made me believe that I'm good enough because of that, like, first
little baby steps closer and closer.
It was such a tease. It was such a tease, like little baby steps. All right, confirming that I am good enough. I can play at a higher level, but like it just getting swiped away from under you.
Yeah. You know what's funny is I've never had somebody on the podcast who majority have been over to Europe at one point, but nobody fully understands the visa process or the foreigner regulations. Some people literally just think there's no issue. Like they're going to go over there and like, they're like, what do you mean you only have a limited amount of spots for foreigners? Like, it's just crazy. I haven't had one person be like, yeah, no, this agent or whoever fully understood it or fully explained it to me. Like, it's just so funny. And it's just insane that you kind of just go over there and you don't have much information, but you just kind of
you gotta learn quickly. You go there with the dream. Like you just want to be chosen. You don't really care about the logistics or the technicalities of it all, but you go there with the dream, and you expect the team and their agents to sort everything out. But it is a lot more complicated than it looks.
And at this point too, because you said you were feeling more confident because you're inching closer, but was any part of you kind of like saying like, oh, I failed in New England, I failed it in Colorado, I failed here in Poland, even if stuff was outside of your control, joining teams mid-season, was any part of you thinking like maybe it's not going to work out?
a little bit more each time it happened. A little bit more.
Yeah.
After Poland, I was it was a little distraught just because, I'd spent this time rehabbing my hamstring. I got hurt in Poland, rehabbing my hamstring. I kept waiting for this team to call us over. So that's another 4 months where I could have been maybe trying to look for an opportunity somewhere else. And I kept, preparing for Poland. Poland fell through, and then now I'm back on the grind trying to find a tryout. And that's where I mentioned before, but Yannick Salmon's dad, who is the coach who took us over to Italy the first time. He has a lot of connections in Europe. And Yannick was playing with Veikkausliiga, top tier in Finland at the time.
Yeah.
Yannick is still like one of my closest friends.
Veikkausliiga.
The Veikkausliiga, yeah.
Finnish is
Finnish.
That's a language.
It's hard. It is hard. They're playing in the top tier league. Yannick and another one of my buddies, John Okafor, and I'm asking his dad, Calvin Salmon, to see if they can send my college highlight tape. And you have to remember, like, that's what these teams are going off of. You didn't have like the player profile that you have nowadays. I don't know if you have it for college level or if it's gotten better, but like the recording, the video, the film, the footage from college years wasn't good.
Yeah.
And so you're sending this college footage to a bunch of these pro teams, and they're like, "This is the footage that you have.
Yeah.
Like, what other accolades?"
It's just so, like, I think it's gotten so much better now.
Yeah.
But like, I remember having footage there wasn't even like the score on the side. Like,
Yeah.
I didn't have the score. It
Yeah.
wasn't live streamed. It was literally just a home camcorder that my coach bought to review the games.
Yeah.
Like, nobody was thinking in terms of like, let's live stream this out. Let's go get this for highlight videos in the future. It was so amateurish.
Yeah,
It was crazy.
and you never zoomed in, like, and you had to highlight yourself in each and every
This little
clip.
4 pixels.
Yeah.
And the coaches, I don't know about you, but my coaches sent me the videos and it was like 480 like P, like what, not like a
bad.
standard
It was
definition. And you're just like, I can't use it. I honestly can't.
Yeah, I prepared my 8-minute highlight film. I think it's still on YouTube to this day. And, I prepared it and I sent it out to these teams, and the team in second tier Finland saw it and they liked it, and it was one of the more financially stable teams. That was the first mistake I made first going to Poland, and
You've learned.
I've learned I need to go to a team that's financially stable. And I'm blanking on the team's name again, but it's something with an S. I think they play in Veikkausliiga now. They got promoted. But I show up. It's like a 15 to 20 hour round, a trip out there to Finland from Queens. And I show up. I sleep in the first night. Next day I'm training. And then the day after that we have a game. Like, it's like a reserve game kind of. And I score a goal in that game. I'm playing left back and I score a goal. And I'm feeling extremely confident. I'm very positive that, this is going to lead to my first official contract where I'm staying with the club and I don't have to go back home. I think the regulation is much more lenient for foreign players in Scandinavia than it is in other parts of Europe. So I have that going for me, and also knowing Yannick and John were able to trial with their team in Finland and stay after they finished the trial kind of bodes well for Americans going over to trial in Scandinavia. So I'm doing well, and then the next day in training is a regen day, and the next day after that we're in competitive training, and I end up spraining my quad, and I'm supposed to be there for like a 2-week trial. I sprained my quad, and I'm trying to take care of it. I'm trying to treat it. I come back maybe 5 days later, and I sprain it again. And if you're a trialist, injuries will ruin your trial, and that's it. And you won't get another opportunity. And so I tried prolonging my trial there. I said, I just need like another week, and they're like, "No,
I swear, it's getting better."
we gotta get ready for our season, and we got to take a look at other players in your position because you're getting hurt. And I'm here thinking of it as like, just trust me, it's getting better. But it's a business. They need to bring in healthy guys who are gonna fit in the role. And I think getting injured twice in that trial just proves that we don't we like him as a player maybe, but he's hurt, and we still need to see him in other areas, see how he does. And if he's getting hurt right now on trial, like, what's to say he's not going to get hurt throughout the season? And then that broke my heart a little bit. That was kind of where I started to lose hope a little bit more. And I went down to where my buddy was playing Yannick Salmon down in Mipa. It was MYPA.
Mipa.
Yeah, Mipa. And in Veikkausliiga. And it's a very small town, but they have a really good club. And I thought I'd try to treat my injury down there. I ended up training with them one time, and then they were going on a preseason trip to like Portugal or something. And I go back home and I start to treat my quad injury, and I'm going into my first year removed from college and haven't signed my first professional contract yet. And I from there start playing with Long Island Rough Riders in PDL, and then I get a text message from Alex Grendy, who worked with
AX Soccer Tours.
Soccer Tours.
Yeah, I've talked to Alex.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh wow! I met Alex through Rough Riders. He played at the Rough Riders.
Really?
And he played at UPenn.
When you said that, I'm like, why does that sound so familiar? And then it clicked. Yeah, yeah. AX Soccer Tours.
He played at UPenn, and we played each other a lot because Villanova plays the Philly schools. And I knew Alex a lot from Rough Riders too. And so this was back when Grendy had already retired from playing because he tore his ACL and he wanted to focus more on building his AX Soccer Tour company. And he reached out to me and said, "Hey, we're coming to Long Island to do a showcase. Can you bring some guys from the Rough Riders and bring some talented players so that the coaches have some good players to look at, because we don't know the level that's going to be out there, so we just want to make sure like at least some of you guys are out there, since you're like the most competitive team out there in Long Island right now."
Yeah.
So I end up taking like Dom Dwyer and Orlando Castaneda, something like that. Two of us, and then one more player. And then we go to the AX Soccer Tours but they partnered with PSC, so it was like a PSC combine, but it was AX Tours, also like a collab effort there in Long Island. So we go, and I find out that there are Swedish scouts at the combine, and there are also New York Cosmos, and I think a third tier Swedish team and a fourth tier Swedish team, and in the Cosmos. So those are the three scouts that are there. And I did really well in the combine, and Tyler Arnone was the other player. Tyler Arnone and Dom Dwyer and myself, we all went to that combine, and we did really well. And the scouts were really interested in Dom and in Tyler and in myself. And actually, the Cosmos, the assistant coach was there. The assistant coach said to Giovanni Savarese, who was the head coach at the time at the Cosmos, that I want to bring Kevin Garcia, and he was playing center back. He said, "Oh, but we already know who Kevin Garcia is. We're not looking to bring him in right now." And so I had already played like in like 45 minutes in a scrimmage that like the Cosmos were doing like an inter squad scrimmage, and they were like down some numbers, and he brought me in as a left back. And so I wasn't as sharp or as fit as a lot of these guys were, and I did okay, but it wasn't anything out of this world. So that, like, I think Giovanni was hanging on to that and didn't want to take his assistant coach's word for it that I did well in this combine, and I was playing center back. But so yeah, like that's like the first time I got I'm seen as a center back, right? As at this combine. But I was kind of hoping for the Cosmos to work out just so I can be close to home and play with like a really good team that has a really good squad, and they, I think, had already won like the NASL championship. And so I wanted to be close to home, and also, finally getting my first contract. But I got that that news from one of the agents, and then I found out that the two Swedish teams still wanted to bring me in. The third tier team and the fourth tier team. The fourth tier team, I got the name was Bodens BK, BODENS space BK, and then the other team was IFK Luleå. And they were like 45 minutes away from each other in northern Sweden. And I looked at the stadium for Bodens, and the stadium looked awesome. And had it not been that Luleå was in the third league higher, I would have probably wanted to go to Bodens first, because just playing in that stadium looked like a dream. And so we set up the trial. The Swedish agents contact me, and they're telling me how interested they are in me, and they want me to go to Luleå. And so I go to Luleå for the trial, and we work out a deal where if I sign that, they take care of the expenses for getting over there, which is important. So if you're going to try to secure a trial overseas, make sure that you work in that they pay for your stuff if you sign, and when you sign. So that's important, just so that you're you're stuck with getting so that you're able to get reimbursed for any expenses.
So your first contract doesn't go straight all to expenses.
Yeah, exactly. And so
then you got $30 for food for the month.
Yeah, exactly. And so I go over to Sweden, to Luleå, and I'm on the trial, and we're there for 4 days because I think the summer transfer window is closing, or the window where you can sign international players, and they need to get it in. So I show up, I know I need to perform, and the first 3 days I do really well, and I'm like really confident going into it. But of course, what's in the back of my mind? Injury in Finland, what happened in Poland, getting turned down in Colorado and getting turned down in New England. That's in the back of my mind, and also what happened with Cosmos. So that's in the back of my mind. So I'm not going to be so sure of it yet. I'm not going to celebrate yet. I'm waiting for the head coach to tell me that we're going to sign you. And I'm waiting for it. Once they say we're going to sign you, I'm waiting to know that my papers made it in time to the main office in Stockholm.
And then that the money actually comes into your bank account.
And that money, but in Scandinavia, that's one thing I never had to worry about. Was Scandinavia, they always pay on the 15th of every month.
Yeah.
You can always count on your money being in your bank account. They're one of the more financially.
It's like Germans are.
Yeah. Very on point. Very punctual. So they're very financially stable, and they make good on their promises. So we get the contract in on time, and it's approved, and I'm playing for EFK Luleå in the third tier in Sweden. And
how did it feel like when you signed and everything? Was it like, what did it feel like?
Oh, weight off of my shoulders, right? Because right before that, I didn't tell you, like right before that combine, I was saying this is the last summer. After this summer, and I was, and you always look for motivation, and when you're down and you're going through adversity. And a lot of my friends who were playing pro, guys I grew up playing with, were telling me I needed to keep playing. I needed to keep going after it. There's no way that you're gonna give up on your dream. But when you're that young and you're going through a tough time, you look for motivation. So I thrived on that support. I saw like little memes on the internet that I thought applied to my situation, like on Instagram, whether it be Facebook, and I listened to motivational videos. Like one of my favorite clips to see is like that Rocky scene where Rocky Balboa is talking to his son. He's talking to him about when you get knocked down, you got to keep moving, keep getting up, and keep moving forward. That's how winning is done. If you want to win, you got to be willing to take the hits. And so that I try to I tried to practice and preach what I saw in that video, and try to kind of live my life by that, and knowing that nothing's ever going to go as smoothly as you intend it to go as. And that first contract was just a load off of my shoulders. I knew the work wasn't done, but at least, I have my foot in the door right now. And from here, working every single day, training every single day with the same group, getting better, getting fitter, and getting game time. That's what I needed. And so for that second half of the season, I played the 10 games as a left back. I got like 2 or 3 assists as a left back. So they brought me in as a center back, but again, they put me as a left back because they didn't have a naturally left-footed
left back is
and
the
so
position. Every team needs a left back.
I know.
Every team needs a left back.
And so I was doing well at left back, and we played against I think the team that's in first place of that league. We ended up losing 2-0, but I showcased that was my first professional game. And I talked to one of the older guys on the team. He said, like, I think you were the best player on our team that game. And that was just a major confidence boost for me. And I was a starter from then on out. Every single game I played, and I was growing in confidence. And in like Division 3 in Sweden, is it kind of like how in lower leagues of Europe, where a lot of the guys are like wouldn't consider themselves professional players, but then they have some foreigners that brought in on the pro contracts? So that's how it does work. You have some local guys who are full-time players, professional guys, like guys who are maybe on more money, and then you have the local guys who are on the team but also do other work on the side, like maybe because we were training at 6 o'clock at night. So you had some guys who would work throughout the day and then show up at night to train. And then and you had some guys who were just full-time professional players on the team. So you kind of pick and choose who you want your full-time players to do and your other players who maybe you have to supplement some of their income with other work.
Yeah.
And so I did well in that first year, and I was getting news that there was a Super Etton team coming to scout me out for the last game of the season because we were playing against a team that was getting promoted. And there was a lot of people coming to the game. There was like, for me, it was a lot of people. It was like 4,000 people maybe. And I don't think like the only other time I'd played in like a crowd that big might have been at Santa Barbara University.
Yeah.
And also at the finals. And so this was a big moment. And again, I played solid, but I didn't really show out like I needed to get signed to a Super Etton team or to be invited on trial. And so I re-signed in Luleå for another year. And I run into a couple of snags with my quad injury. I re-aggravated my quad injury that I had the previous year. And I'm kind of working my way back into the team to start getting some more playing time. And then I play a little bit more heading into that summer break. And after the summer break, I started to play every single game. I started to do really well. They're using me as a outside mid now too.
Okay.
And I'm scoring some goals. Like there's one game, I forget where who we were playing against, but there's one game where I scored like 2 goals and had, was it 2 goals or 1 goal and 2 assists? I had like 1 goal and 2 assists. And I had so much fun playing outside mid because I was just out there going 1v1 or cutting balls back to the box. And it was just a lot of fun for me. So like I kind of like fell in love with the game again after that, having that injury year, like for the first half of the year, being hampered with injuries. I kind of fell in love with the game again after that game because I'd done so well. The newspaper had given me a rating of 5, and that rarely happens where like newspaper rates you. I don't know if you had it in Germany where like they give you like a star rating.
Yeah, so you got a 5 out of 10.
So I that was like the first game I ever got rated 5 out of 5 for the record.
Yeah.
And then Gucci, what are you doing?
It's crazy.
She's hanging out in the plant right there. Yeah. Does she pee in the plant? Does she do that? Oh. Okay.
Look like it.
And so we do well that game, and then so going forward, I'm playing as an outside mid. And so I'm playing outside mid, and I'm doing well. And I'm not playing as an outside back anymore because I'm doing so well as an outside mid, and I'm creating some good attack for the club. And I finished the year doing really well as an outside mid, and I decided, I think I need to take a step up from here and start to look at some other clubs, maybe in Super Etton, maybe in a Dekoligaen in second tier in Norway. And I secure a trial with a second tier team. I'm blanking on the names, but I went on trials with the second tier team in Sweden, and then I want to try with the two second tier teams in Norway. And the team in Norway that I was in was in Oslo, and the other one was Kristiansund. Kristiansund ended up getting promoted the following year to go to Tippeligaen, which is the top league in Norway. Yeah. And I remember being with the Oslo team. I trained really well with the Oslo team, like warranted a contract, 100%. The Swedish team, I did well enough, but again, like being an international player, you need to be show out like above and beyond.
Yeah,
with
you
the
need to be the
guys.
best top 3. How many foreigners do you get? 3?
I know for Sweden, we had on the third tier team we had 3 internationals. We had like Ibrahim Kalai. We had a Russian who had Swedish citizenship. We had myself and Zach Lubin, 2 Americans.
Oh, Zach Lubin was there?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Zach Lubin was so that's where I met Zach Lubin my second year in Luleå. And we after that year we kind of parted ways, And so like I've seen Zach grow from where like the player he is now. And me and him, we used to go out and do a lot of individual work like outside of training. And we'd go to the field and we'd he'd work on distribution, I'd work on shooting and on crossing and on clearances. So we put in a lot of work together. So like just seeing him and how far he's come, it's just a testament to all the work he's put in when nobody's looking, when I was just there to work with him. So it was good to see. It's good to see how well he's done. So the following year, I want to go play in Oslo, and the team. This is what I don't understand. Apparently, there's a requirement that you need to pay your international players a certain amount, and the team finds out they don't have that in the budget, and they're trying to work it so that we can pay you this much, but then like you got to find a way to like adjust it so that the league doesn't know that we're paying you below like what you're supposed to be getting paid. And
Germany had that. You needed
Really?
1,500 euros a month, like in that Regionalliga, the 4th division. And if you didn't do that, then you were technically an amateur player, but then they couldn't get you a work visa if you're an amateur. So you needed to be making above 1,500 to warrant the work permit for the visa.
I think in Norway at the time it was like 16,000 Norwegian krones, which is, I don't know, it's like over $2,000. But I think it's different for each tier. I think for each tier it's different. So for the second tier it needed to be, I don't know, if Sweden at the time was 15 to 24, it might have been like 2,500, 3,000 a month for that second tier team in Norway. But they give you like apartment and they give you like meals included, like a lunch place where you can get like lunch and dinner. So it's a pretty nice setup, but you're also like you're moving up right in the soccer ladder, and you're playing up in a higher tier, and that's what I was striving towards. And we were not able to work it out because they can't meet the demands for an international slot. And I go to Kristiansund, and now you have a financially stable team, and they were a really good team. Kristiansund was a really good team, but I went on trial there, and I did well enough, but again, like it didn't warrant an international player spot. And the coach said that, like, I think you're a good player. I think you're a very good player. Like I don't want you to sign for another team in this league, but we're not able to offer you that spot just because you're just not showing above like the local level that we have. Like for an international player, you need to be one of the best players on the team, and you need to, be sharp and push them and push the level. And I think I had no problem playing at that level, but I don't think I was pushing anyone to be better. And I think from there, I get my highlight done for Sweden, that I played in Sweden for that last year and a half, and I get it out to some scouts, some agents, and I get word back from Ireland that they're looking for like a left-sided player, and that's Galway United. And I go on to play at Galway United. They bring me in, and the visa, like they're really strict in the UK about it, and Ireland about it. It took me, I signed mid-January, and it took about 6 weeks to get all that processed. And so I'm at home. There's a major snowstorm in New York, and I'm just like anxious to get over to Ireland because I'm tired of training indoors or going to the gym to run on the treadmill.
And that was in the Premier Division, right? Galway at the time was in the Premier Division.
They had just been promoted to the Premier Division, right? So they're back in the Premier Division. They're one of the bigger clubs in Ireland as far as like history goes, and on that side of the country, like the west side of the country, Galway usually runs that area. And so historically they've been one of the powerhouse teams in Ireland. But that year they're finally getting back to the top tier, and Jake Keegan is there, another American who is playing forward, and he scored a bunch of goals in the second tier, and so now he's moving up to first tier, and it's going to be a little bit more competitive. But Jake Keegan's a forward, and he does a really good job. Really good work ethic, really tidy player, great finisher with left and right. He can use both feet, and he's very good at playing off the center back shoulder and just kind of being a pest with his runs. So he was the other American, and then I go in, and first game I play as a left back, and then they used me as a center back in Galway. And
there we go.
Yeah, so I start playing center back, And I actually got some exposure at center back in Sweden as well. So I started playing at Sweden, and I started to play pretty well at center back.
Did you like it?
I did like. For me, I thought it was much simpler to play because it's less running, but it's much more organization as a center back, and just having your timing right and your positioning right, and just being smart with the ball. Right, you need to organize, be smart with the ball, and just have your positioning right, because that's a lot of what defense is. But as an outside back, you have to join the attack. You got to get creative. You got to hustle back. A lot of it is hustle, grit, hard work ethic, creativity, and just having endurance and stamina. So I think I thought center back was easier, but it required just like a lot more talking, communication, and making sure like players around me were organized in good positions.
It's a smart position.
Yeah,
which is surprising why you're there.
It's surprising. Yeah, well, it's not surprising why you're not there. So like for me, it was a nice change.
Maybe when I'm 41.
Maybe you're 40. Yeah, 10 more years. You're almost there. You're only 2 years behind me. I don't know what you. I don't know what you.
I'm young. I'm young. You're old.
You're with the TikTok.
You were born in 1990. I can't even imagine.
And you're
that.
in 92, aren't you?
I'm 96.
Oh my God. Lies.
92.
And so I got some exposure at center back in Galway, and that's where I got exposed to a completely different type of play, which is very frantic sometimes and very direct and physical.
Yeah.
Galway, and I asked some of the guys in the Irish league, who said, "Is this more direct than England?" So much more direct than England.
Yeah, that's what I've heard.
And it's just full press the whole game. And mind you, I'm coming from a league where it's like Sweden. The build up, it's much more methodical. It's much more contained. It's a slower build up from the back four to the midfield to the forward, and it's kind of like a symphony. It's like so measured and so planned, and the pieces are all working together. And in Ireland, it's just gunning after the ball, gunning after like full pressing the goalie, pressing the center backs, pressing the outside backs. You never get a break. Constant play. It's just fast paced. It's just so fast paced.
Isn't that funny how the styles like differ so much? Because that's everybody I've ever heard that's played over in Sweden or Norway or Finland has said the same exact thing. Everybody I know that's played over in the UK, Ireland. Is Ireland in the UK? I always get
I don't think. I think Northern Ireland is part of the UK, but I don't think the Republic of Ireland
the UK say the same exact thing. Everybody that's played like in different areas, Australia, whatever, they all have like, this is like the identity of the game, and it's like football's football wherever you go, but the style is very different. Yeah. So how'd you do with that style?
I at first, like the first game I played was against Cork.
Yeah.
Cork. Really good club. They probably had like 7,000 fans for the opener, and they had a proper stadium. I think we lost 1-0 at that game, but I did well. I played like the 70th. It was like 70 minutes. It was the first game I played in like 5 months. So it was a good game for me to get introduced to the game, to the style of play in Ireland. But that wasn't even the frantic, because like when you play against the Cork team likes to keep the ball a little bit. They can be very direct and they can be very aggressive, but playing at home, they kept the ball well, and they didn't really we weren't really exposed to that much direct play. We were kind of playing a little bit direct, but they weren't doing as much. And so the next game, I think I was playing as a center back, and we start to play some of the mid-table teams, and you start to notice how like blue collar these guys are, and how they're constantly pressuring you. You don't really have more than a second to realize what you're going to do with the ball. You got to be hitting the channels. You got to be and heading the, like, not heading the ball to keep possession, but heading the ball to put it back into the mixer. And like I just came from learning a year and a half of trying to keep possession by any means, not just giving the ball away and not putting it in 50-50 areas. And so like when they're hitting a long ball, I'm trying to head it back to one of my D mids, but the D, like, they don't like that there, because one of like the players will be pressing so high that you're putting the D mid in a bad position, and can potentially lead to a turnover and a goal right on the counter. So I constantly was looking to combine with the guys around me and playing short. And they just felt really uncomfortable in those positions, and I didn't want to. I kind of went back to being stubborn. Like I didn't want to adjust to playing direct.
Yeah.
So I'd play direct at times, but I didn't like it as much, and I didn't transition as well to playing direct as in the first couple of games. But then I started to understand it a little bit more, and I actually picked up a hamstring injury like 4 or 5 games into it. I come back from a hamstring injury, and now we have 2 healthy center backs, and the team is doing okay. And in training, I'm playing as a flank player, and I'm playing as an outside mid, and I'm doing well in training. Like I'm having fun, and I'm going at people, and I'm going in, I'm going out, and I mean, kind of like what I did going against you 1-on-1 last year, like in training, where.
No, I don't remember
where I, you know what I'm talking about, right?
little step over.
little step over. Like there's some creativity there, and I liked taking, like, even in college, I liked going to the inside and going to the out with my right foot. I just like, it was one of my signature go-to moves. And
I mean, I can even at center back, I can see the cuts that you do.
It's the hips.
It's
all
the hips.
It's all in the hips. You got to do the hip openers before training. It works, trust me. And so I that's what I was doing in Ireland training. I legit like, we have like a best trainer or best player for like training, like each week or whatever.
Yeah.
And like players, like my teammates were starting to take notice, like, damn, Kevin's doing really well at like these attacking positions. He's dangerous. I was probably, you've only seen me at center back. It's like, what is Kevin doing up in the back?
No, I want to see one training. Just I'll
show you my highlights of
the thing is, I know people can play out of position, do well.
Yeah.
Like I actually think it's harder at times to come back, because then you're have to be more disciplined.
Yeah.
You have to know more about like positionally
As
is
a
more
defender,
important
yeah.
as a defender.
100%.
Like it was harder for me from going from winger to fullback
Yeah.
than even now going from fullback a
Yeah.
little bit to winger.
Yeah.
Even though I played winger most of my life, but like that going backwards, it's the learning the position is harder. So I can see you doing that, but I just want to see it in training now. I want to see it. I'm gonna ask Mike. Mike, Kevin's been talking a whole bunch of mess about how he can play winger. Put him at winger. Have him go against.
Yeah, I'll do it.
I'll play fullback. You play
do
winger.
it for one training.
Yeah,
it'll be fun.
Yeah.
And so I'm doing well in training, and the coach is taking notice, and then he's putting me in as an outside mid against some of these clubs, and I'm going in and I'm doing well. Like there was a chant that they started in Galway. It was like, he plays on the left, he plays on the right, Kevin Garcia makes Messi look shy. And I couldn't believe that, right? I was just like,
bro,
I was
the chants
gassed at hearing that.
The chants over there are legendary. It's just it's amazing. It's amazing the creativity they can put.
And that was after like a few performances of doing well at outside mid, and us having the ball and winning some games, and me going at players, and like it's very different playing outside mid when you're on the upper hand, as opposed to going up against the powerhouse where they have possession and you're constantly working back as like another defender. And so that's where I'll say outside mid is a pain to play when your team isn't in possession and you're constantly running doggies. And in Ireland, you can run doggies a lot, and because, like I said, it's full press.
Yeah, and you get 3 touches and a half.
Yes, and I was going up against I think so we had played against Bohemians FC. We played against Shamrock Rovers, and those are the 2 games where like I did really well. We actually even met the president of Ireland. I met the president of Ireland. He's a Galway fan.
Boris Johnson?
No, it's not.
I'm just kidding.
President of Ireland.
I don't know. I don't know the president of Ireland.
I'm blanking on his name, but I meet him, and it was after my best performance as an outside mid against Bohemians FC, and he comes down and he shakes my hand and he tells me like how well I've played, and so like my confidence is riding sky high. And then the next game, playing against another club, and it's in like the Irish League Cup, and we it's like 15 minutes in, and I take one of their outside backs, and the center back is coming over, and the ball is going to the end line, and I realize he's gonna get there at the same time, so I slide to swing the ball across the box, and he slides as well, and he jams his knee right into this like middle part between my kneecap and that muscle here, the quad muscle.
Yeah.
and all
That's the vastus medialis obliquus.
you just made that up.
No,
right
swear
now.
to God.
Are you serious?
Vastus medialis.
Vastus
The VMO. You've
medialis
never heard
obliquus.
VMO?
Yeah.
Vastus medialis obliquus.
Did you get hurt there?
No.
Why do you know that? Why do you know that one
I
detail?
don't know. I
don't
can't
know,
tell you.
yeah.
It's just, you know how some things just stick?
Yeah.
That's just something that's stuck in my head.
Okay. Well, say it again.
Vastus medialis obliquus.
Vastus medialis obliquus. So he wrecked my vastus medialis obliquus. He wrecked it, and I get up, and I'm like hobbling a little bit, and I want to push on, right? Because I'm in form. I'm doing well. The crowd is liking me. I'm finally winning them over. And as an American playing in these leagues, it's very hard to win the crowds over because you're coming as a foreigner to take the local players' spots, and you're obviously getting paid more than local guys. And so they're on my side, and I'm getting a really painful feeling in my knee where it starts to swell up. And I'm trying to play on, and then all of a sudden it just like balloons, and I could barely walk, and I need to get walked off the pitch, and I'm out for about 3 weeks, and then I come back and I'm not as fit, and so I'm on the bench, and then I finally get a chance to play against I want to say Shamrock Rovers. Start the second half, and I do really well. And then play against Dundalk at left mid, and Dundalk was the best team in that league, and they had very, very good players. Like they keep the ball really well, and they're constantly running their flanks, and I had to defend against one of probably the best right back in the league. And he turned me into just like an outside mid running doggies, and I was gassed. Couldn't keep up with him, and that was like a poor showing for me, and I think that was kind of like the first step to leaving Ireland, because it was they didn't see me as a center back. They saw me more as a creative player, because I was playing more on the flank at Galway. I was doing that in training, and so center backs was already a position where they had their two starters, and so they wanted me as an outside mid, but they see like that I'm getting gassed and I don't have the lungs to play that position, right? Yeah. And I'm starting to notice maybe I don't have the lungs to play outside mid, and maybe I'm not as I don't have the endurance that I thought I had. Definitely, I was exposed in Ireland for not having the fitness level to kind of sustain that for 90 minutes against some of the best outside backs in that league, and so I think I played one more game against it's like a friendly game against Liverpool's U18 team. I think we beat them 1-0. I played that game, and then I talked to my agent, and we get a move back to Sweden, which is VSK, which is like one of the bigger clubs in Sweden, like very historical club, VSK. And we it's a third tier, and I'm here trying to. They are looking for international guys to help them stay in the third tier, because they were like in the bottom half, and they were like close to like in the relegation zone. And we go for they signed me and like two other guys from like second tier and like first tier, and they bring us all over, and we do really well that season. We go undefeated in the second half of the season, because I got signed over for the second half. We do really well. We get signed over for the second half, and we ended up finishing like sixth place or whatever it was, to going from almost being relegated. So wow. And the supporters were great. We would get like 4,000 or 5,000 a game. So dang. Supporters were really good in VSK. And from there, I wanted to come back home. My dad, I was missing my family a lot. I wanted them to actually come to my games.
Yeah. So out of these like 4 or 5 years in Europe, how many times did you go home every time in off season? And how often did you see your family?
In the off season, I went home. The off season, I went home, and I saw my family in the off season. My parents came to visit me in Ireland one time, and my parents came to visit me in Sweden one time. Mm-hmm. And so I got to see them twice throughout the season, and I really wanted to just be closer to home. My dad had a scare with prostate cancer in 2012 or 2013, and I just wanted to make sure that I'd been abroad for 2 years or so, and I'd wanted to come back home to just be closer to my dad, be closer to my family, and wanted more of a direct path to MLS. I knew I wanted to keep playing, and I knew I wanted to step up the level, and so I started to get some interest, like playing in Denmark or in Colombia, and then that actually provokes me to reach out to Wilmer, because Colombia, obviously he played in Colombia for 13 years or so, and who better to get an opinion on the Colombian league than Wilmer, and the team that was interested in me was Pereira, and they were actually already publishing on like their social media accounts that American Kevin Garcia was coming in to strengthen the back line.
Wow.
And that was already getting published. So I was like, Wilmer, I have to ask you, like, what do you think about the Colombian league? Do you think they're like financially responsible? Will I get my payment? He said, it's a very good league, a lot of good players, but they pay you like they don't pay you. So sometimes they will pay you, sometimes they won't. It all depends on the team's doing and how the owners are doing. So that was all I needed to hear. And I said, I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to take that risk. And then Wilmer's like, well, listen, Kevin, I'm going to be coaching the RGV team here, the second team for the Houston Dynamo. Why don't you come here and I'll take care of you here, and we're going to create a really good team for this year, and we're going to with the goal to get you to the Houston Dynamo. And I said, this is what I wanted. This is my direct path to MLS. This is what I've been looking for. And going to Colombia, playing a year there, and going to MLS doesn't seem appealing to me anymore, and I want to go back to Wilmer. I know him as a coach. I respect him. He believes in me, and that's all I needed to know to make my decision. And I said I was going to do it, so I signed for RGVFC, and in its first inaugural year, and we have a pretty good year. I was the captain of that team, and that's actually where I met Bird and I met Bradley, and got my career started playing in the States, playing with RGV, and then having some training stints with the Houston Dynamo in March, and then again in June, and then for like 2 weeks straight in the summertime, and then finally signing first week of September for the Houston Dynamo in 2016. And but like that year with RGV was just a special year. Just because
you guys were good.
Just like the players, like they were all young players. I was the oldest guy. I was 25 years old, and I was the oldest player on the team.
Yeah.
And like meeting Eric Bird, Charlie Ward, like George Malky, Jennings Kadich, Bradley, like so many like talented players that were assembled for that group.
All great guys except for Bradley, huh?
Just
that's the only one.
So Bradley was at the Houston team, right? And he was getting loaned down to play with RGV to get some games in, and that's actually when the first time I saw Bradley playing was with us, and we had him do initiation, and he had to do what is that? Baby Got Back song.
Oh yeah, I've seen that video. I don't know why I've seen that video. I've seen it. I don't know why.
Baby Got Back.
Yeah.
Yeah, so he did that. That cracked me up. He actually scored the first goal for FC Tulsa. I mean, not FC Tulsa, for RGVFC.
Okay.
It was against Portland, and he scored a header, and we went on to win that game 2-0. But like that RGV year, like it was just a special year. Like having Wilmer as the coach, and like being with the players that we had that year. We had, I want to say, 7 or 8 guys end up on that Houston Dynamo first team. I'm going to try to remember them if I can. It was like myself, Jose Escalante, Charlie Ward, Taylor Hunter, Eric Bird, Memo Rodriguez. That's 6. I think there was like 1 or 2 other guys I'm blanking on.
And how long was it since your first New England Revolution trial? Like how many years had passed?
4 years.
So it basically took you 4 years from when to get into the MLS.
Yeah.
Hey.
Yeah.
And how was it when you signed your first, like, because this is what you basically set out to do. You're not, this isn't your first pro contract, but this is your first time. Like, did it feel like you were like accomplishing like a long held goal that you had?
So for me, I think it would have been much more surprising if it would have been like completely out of the blue, but because I had already gotten those training stints with the Houston Dynamo, I felt much more comfortable and knew I deserved it. I think sometimes on trials, like, you're just kind of hoping you get signed.
Yeah.
But like having that exposure, knowing the guys, doing well with RGV, leading what was it, like a record shutout of like 9 games without receiving a goal.
Yeah.
Definitely brought a lot of attention onto the team, and started to notice the defense, and got a lot of good exposure. And I want to say, like, I was so ecstatic signing that first contract, but you kind of prepare for it with the training stints. Like, you prepare for that training stint. That training stint goes well, they invite you back again.
Yeah.
They invited me to another training stint. That training stint goes well, they know they can depend on you, and they know that level's not going to drop if they bring you in. I was with them for like 2 weeks in the summer, and hot and humid in Houston, so they know you can play in that environment. So that was important. So like I'm at the time, I'm thinking I'm getting better each time I go up here to play. I'm getting better. Like they see that I'm improving as a player and that I'm doing well in this environment. And it was after the game we played against SKC2, where they sent down, I want to say 9 first-team players, and maybe had 1 or 2 guys from the SWOPE team.
Mm-hmm.
And we were playing against like Ricky Rubio? Is that his name? Ricky Rubio?
I know who you're talking about.
Like
Yeah,
Rubio,
right.
and like real like MLS players who have been in the league for years, who just haven't played, who just like didn't play that week.
Yeah.
And we beat them 2-0. We beat them 2-0. And that like cemented like my contract. I get pulled aside by Wilmer after that trip, and he says, "Hey, Houston Dynamo are going to sign you, but you need to make sure that you continue playing well, and that you show well with the Houston Dynamo, because what you do represents the rest of the group of guys down here, and they see that you're doing well. They want to take a look at other guys, so they're going to sign you."
No pressure.
No. So I was so ecstatic. I was so thrilled. I told my parents. They were thrilled. I signed that contract in Matt Jordan's office. So thrilled. But at the same time, like, you're signing, and they're already towards the end of the year, and the team culture was just very different, because Houston Dynamo was like maybe one of the last 2 teams in the conference at the time. They weren't having a good year, and then you go to RGV, like we're vying for that first spot. Like we're battling with Sacramento back and forth, first and second. And it's just you just saw a complete change in culture, and you just try to be as positive as you can, and try to continue to learn from the guys that are there, like the Beasleys and David Horse, and like the real vets that are there, and try to absorb as much as you can and continue to grow as a player. And we finished out that year in RGV. We lost in the playoffs to OKC over, I remember it was off that Highland throw-in, the flip throw.
Yeah.
Dude, he'd bomb it from like half field and like bounced in the 18, and then a forward ran on and nicked it past the goalie. 2-2. Then they won 3-2 off a corner kick. Boom, last play of the game, and they lost 3-2 in the playoffs. But it was a special year, I think.
That was 2016, right?
2016.
Because I signed with Orange County, and then I remember because I signed, but I was like getting the paperwork done, so the team left for the weekend to go play RGV.
Yeah.
And then they came back, and then I played every single game from then on.
Yeah.
So I missed going down and playing against you and Eric and maybe even Bradley.
There was a big fight that game.
Was there?
The center back, Brenton Griffiths?
Yeah, Brenton Griffiths, yeah.
So Wilmer had him at residency, I think.
It
was the national team.
Uh-huh.
And so Brenton was, I think, escalating situation. Well, we had a player who was just, I think he ended up spitting on one of your players, and I think that
I'll do it.
Something broke out there. Yeah, and so there was a big mosh pit there of players, and then we're trying to separate everyone, and then Brenton Griffiths is making some remarks there that Wilmer's getting pissed off, and he's like to Brenton, shut up. But that was like we lost 1-0. I think you guys ended up getting a red card, but we were so pissed at that, because I was game at home, that we felt that we should have won, but you guys just came in there and you snatched 3 points, and we were so pissed off.
Yeah.
That was so annoying. and then so we played against you when we went there. We won 1-0 like in the last play of the
I
game.
don't remember that game. I don't remember that.
We go there and it was like September, and you guys had a really good team. You guys had a lot of like older European guys
we
too.
brought it. So during that like June, it was like the team was doing pretty poorly. They were like 10th place or something,
Yeah.
and they brought in like me. I turned it all around.
Of course.
So
Casual.
they needed right back, so they brought me in. But they brought in some big, Richard Chaplow who played over in the Premier League, and like brought over a lot of Europeans playing from Israel, playing in the Finnish first division. So they kind of like stacked that team in mid-season.
Yeah. I remember like when we were watching you guys play, or like I remember noticing in the game like these guys are talented guys. Like they can move the ball well, they know the game well, they have good soccer IQ. And
what did you think of the right back?
Right back, I thought well, I was playing left back. I was playing against you. I thought we didn't. The thing is, the goal didn't come on your side. The goal didn't come on your side. The goal came on the left side.
I don't know how you remember these games. I can't even remember what.
I remember that. I don't know why I remember that, but I remember us. It was 0-0. You guys had some good chances. I will say, like you guys had speedy winger come in.
Yeah.
I forget his name. Speedy winger.
Trevin Caesar? He was a
Caesar.
Yeah, Caesar.
He's fast.
Rapid.
Dude, I had to go up against him.
Rapid.
I had to go up against him, and I remember him running really fast, and I had like
he's
I'm
the
trying to put him on his left foot.
He's one of the first players that really made me feel like slow. Like I was like, I am not fast.
And yeah, I remember like taking notice. Like this guy is rapid.
Yeah.
And but no, I just remember that game, the first half and the second half, and I remember like you guys having a good opportunity in the second half, and then us like one of the last plays of the game, we played down the right flank, and then Kyle Murphy, who now plays for Rowdies, whips it into Jenny Katic, and Jenny Katic just like heads it home for the 1-0 win, and we sneak out of there with 3 points. And then I think we play San Antonio at home, and we beat them 3-0 heading into the playoffs, and that's when we lost to OKC.
Your memory is pretty crazy. That's
the games.
Impressive.
I just like it's just hard for me. I also replay the games over and over in my head after the game.
Yeah.
I don't know how you are after games, but I can't go to sleep until like 2-3 a.m.
Yeah, I can't watch the games right after though.
I watch them every single time.
I have to wait at least until the next day.
Yeah.
Like I think about all the plays. I think about every single touch I had, what I should have done, everything, and it keeps me up. But I don't know why I don't watch the games. I have to wait until the next day to watch.
Yeah,
I don't know why.
I'm just like so anxious to see what it looked like on film that I can't wait because I'm just thinking about it. I'm thinking about it. I need to see how I played. I mean, everyone's different, but I feel like I'm gonna be up regardless, so might as well just watch the game.
That's what I do. I'm like, no. If I watch it, I'm gonna stay up for it. Like I'm gonna stay up longer.
Yeah.
So then I try to go to sleep, but then I end up just I don't know. I still stay up until 1 a.m. every night.
Yeah.
So.
I mean, to each their own. But so then that RGV year finishes, and Wade Barrett is the interim head coach of the Houston Dynamo, and then Wilmer takes the head coaching job.
Mm-hmm.
And Wilmer the following year brings in a few RGVFC guys, and he's trying to turn over the team. He's trying to bring over his own guys, and he's brings over a lot of Central American, South American guys. And in that first year, he's looking at me. I'm playing more as a right back, and I actually make my debut playing as a right back against Minnesota United, where I had a very good showing over the last for the second half there. I was nervous, but like you've been preparing for this, so I had that kind of mentality. First time playing in like a massive stadium like that with a lot of fans, and first time them seeing me live in a Houston Dynamo game. So like obviously like you have that kind of anxiety, but like once you get in the game and you get your first play under your belt, which was like going 1v1, dispossessing one of the players, and then getting fouled, like your confidence is already up, right?
Yeah.
So from there, just connecting the passes, just playing good balls. I actually finished the game like with a very good opportunity. I won a header, gave it to Vicente Sanchez, and I'm running alongside Vicente Sanchez. There's two of us running up the field, and he draws in the left back, and I'm making a run into the box along the outside, and he fakes the shot and he slides it to me right along the edge of the 18. I take a touch to the inside, and then I fake it like I'm gonna hit it across the 6, and I give it back to the PK spot for Kubla Torres, and Kubla Torres skied it. And I think we ended up tying that game 2-2, and that would have been surreal to get like the game winning assist. But
Yeah.
I got an interview after the game and got to talk to the coach. Coach said I did well, and that I was starting the next game as a right back, because AJ De La Garza had gone out with an injury, a calf injury. So starting the next game with Houston Dynamo as a right back, playing with Leonardo, Adolfo Machado, and DeMarcus Beasley, who I respected a lot. And like Beasley's a very old school guy. He's a very old school cat. He you need to earn his respect. He's not just gonna give you any respect. You need to earn his respect. And I had always been, very keen on just listening whenever he speaks and always watching him. His positioning. He's a very, very smart guy. He's played in 4 World Cups, and he's had 20-year career. He's played in Holland, in England. He's played in Mexico. He's played for the national team for I don't know how many caps. And he's played as a winger, and he's also converted to an outside back. So I respected him a lot. And that game against San Jose, we were playing San Jose, and we were playing them at home, and we hadn't had a shutout yet. And I remember, being the one out of the bunch that wasn't a regular starter. Mm-hmm. So I think like a lot of attention was gonna be on me and see how this young guy did. And I loved it. I loved every single minute of it. I went up against what's the captain of San Jose, like the speedy winger. Oh, I'm blanking on him. I'm blanking on his name. Anyway, they were telling me like he's a really north to south guy. He's very fast. He's one of the tougher guys to go up against in the wing. And so, like, for me, when I go up against those guys, I just try to be as physical as I can and not let them get comfortable. And so I would always be so tight to him, but not as tight. Like, if a winger like that is really fast, you need to be careful with them getting in behind. But I think at that point, like, I believed enough in my speed to, like, push off on the winger and kind of get, like, a little step on him to run him out, to retrace. And so I did well that game. The first half I did well. I was I handled the ball well. I was defending well. I was communicating well, and I felt good. And in the second half, we just kind of locked it down, and we ended up closing out that game 2-0, which is the first shutout of that year. And the coaching staff told me I did a really good job, but that AJ De La Garza was healthy again, and that I was gonna have to be in more of a supporting role. And I ended up playing a lot with RGV a little bit that year. A little bit. I ended up playing a good amount with RGV that year, and playing more as an outside back. And then towards the end of the year, I started playing more as a center back with RGV. Mm-hmm. And that's when, I realized how much more fun center back is, and how much more like impactful I felt like I was making on the game for RGV. Not like at Houston Dynamo, I was doing well outside back, but at RGV, like, because that year, the 2017, they weren't doing that well. But like at center back, I felt like I was able to at least stop some of the bleeding from some of the goals and organizing the players, because a lot of the players were much younger since they went out and got a bunch of new young guys. And I was still playing. They still viewed me as an outside back for the Dynamo, and so we go to Dallas, and that's a derby. And AJ De La Garza has 5 yellows, so they know that I've done well at right back. They know they can trust me, and they're gonna put me to play against Dallas, which is a derby, and that, like, those games are fiery. Mm-hmm. Like, from the first minute to the last play of the game, it's just a constant battle. You can't turn off the switch for just a second, because you'll get punched. And and that actually ended up being a 3-3 game. I went out and I did really well. I had to go up against Michael Barrios. Yeah. And Tesho what's his name? Tesho Akindele? Something like that. Uh-huh. He was like the winger for Dallas, and also went to Orlando. I had to go up against those two. But like, I was holding my own, and that, I think, gave me the confidence to continue pushing. And I think at one point I was doing so well in training that I was getting pissed off that I wasn't playing.
Yeah.
Like imagine that, like being so like thrilled that I'm getting to play at MLS, and then to the point where I'm doing so well in training, I'm keeping up with our wingers, with like the speedy starters that we have. I'm doing well. I'm keeping the ball. I'm fighting for that spot, but just because of inexperience, I'm not getting that exposure. And
That's
so
like a nature of like a footballer though. Like you want it so bad, you tell yourself like, oh, if I just sign a pro contract and I'm on a pro team, I'll be happy. And then you get there and immediately, not to say you're not happy, but immediately you want more.
Yeah.
And then you get more and immediately you want more.
Yeah,
You're
you
not
have
content.
to.
You're not
You have
content.
to.
Because if you were content, you would be playing Sunday League.
yeah.
So you're just never content about wherever you are.
Yeah. You gotta find a way to keep going. You can't get comfortable, especially when you're being evaluated day in and day out, and you see that all these other players around you and how talented they are, and you can't slip up for a second, because if you slip up and you start to form bad habits and you're not training well, then the coaching staff doesn't trust you, and just like your shot might be over. So each and every training you have to go out and give it your all, because you never know when your next opportunity is going to come. Mm-hmm. And so I that first 2017, and then we ended up playing against I want to say Cruz Azul.
Oh yeah.
And the Mexican team, and I did really well that game as well. Like I each time I went out in that 2017 year, like I was like really solid, reliable outside back, and it's kind of like I wanted to do well to kind of give myself another shot for another year, so that I can kind of cement myself as like a sophomore with the team or a junior with the team, and like they can rely on me even more. And then ending that year, AJ De La Garza tears his ACL, but I'm not on the bench that game, and Jaleel Anibaba goes in and plays right back, and they see Jaleel doing a really good job at right back. So like, well, Jaleel's been in the league for 6-7 years. We're going into the playoffs. Are we gonna have Kevin play as a right back in the playoffs, a player who's played 3 or 4 MLS games this year, or are we gonna have Jaleel, who's like been in a playoff team and knows the league and knows the players, and has more experience for sure. Mm-hmm. And I had to sit back and kind of learn from Jaleel, and learn in that high, fast-paced environment in the playoffs, where it is very competitive. It's different from it's a bit of an increase from regular season, just because there's so much more on the line. And we actually go to Portland, and I think that I'm going to get my first playoff minutes there in Portland, because Adolfo Machado gets hit in the head, and he's like clean out. He's like sprawled out on the field, and you're not seeing him move. And then Kevin Garcia goes to me, he's like, "Kevin, get moving, come on." And I'm like, yeah. And I'm getting warm. Yeah. I go to the head coach. I have my jersey on. I have the directions and everything, all the instructions. And Adolfo gets up, and he's like saying he's fine. But he had a concussion. Like we found out later, like the day after, the 2 days after, like he was concussed and he wasn't doing well. But I was close to, and that was in the conference semifinal against Portland. And we ended up winning, I think 2-0 against Portland. 2-1, sorry. Dylan Remick scored, and then Mauro Manota scored a banger in the second half. And win 2-1 in that, and then we lose to Seattle in the conference finals. Home leg, we lost 1-0. On the away leg, I think we lost 2-0 too. So we finished that 2017 year, and then end of year meetings going really well. You tell me, you've done well this year, but we want you to push more. We don't want you to be content with where you are. We want you to fight for that starting role. AJ's hurt, so there's going to be a new right back playing there. Is it going to be you, or is it going to be someone else? We'll see. Mm-hmm. So they kind of left that out there for me. I returned for that next year, and in preseason I'm doing well.
Did you sign just a 1 year for the 2018?
No, so when I first signed in 2016, I signed the 3.5-year deal to the end of 2019. So it was just option year. So they picked up my option.
Okay.
So they picked up my option for the 2018 year, and I play as a outside back, preparing me as a right back, and all preseason I'm with the starting team. Mm-hmm. And so I'm doing well. And I see first we have on the schedule is Atlanta United. Uh-huh. And in 2017, I think that was their first year in the league.
Yeah.
they did really well.
Yeah.
And so that second year, we're going up against Atlanta United. They had just signed Barco, and you had Miguel Miron, you have Jose Martinez, you have Pires in the back, and we have our hands full, right? The first game of the season, we're going against these MLS giants, and I'm going up against Miguel Almiron. And I'm excited. I'm nervous. I'm excited. I'm nervous. And the first game, I remember like before the game, I'm just like so focused, and I'm not listening to anybody. I'm just like tuned into my own thing. I'm like, this is my moment. This is my moment. This is my moment. And I'm like drinking my water. I'm stretching. I'm doing everything I need to do to get prepared. And then one was like, Kevin. He's like, he just noticed like I'm really focused. He's like, Kevin, it's fine. It's the game. It's fine. You're gonna be fine. Don't worry about it. Just do what you do. Just play like you normally play. But I mean, it's just like the home opener. It's the home opener. It's not like on the biggest stage, packed stadium, going up against Atlanta United. And we go out there and having a blast from the first minute off. We attacked on the left side and whipping a dangerous ball, just miss, and the ball gets cleared out, and I'm already like by the corner of the 18, ready to like guide the ball out. So like we're already pressing high. Mm-hmm. And we play off the throw in, and I throw in into Mauro Manotas. Mauro Manotas gives it back to Albert. Albert gives it back to Mauro, and then boom, goal 1-0. And we scored a second goal, and then we scored a third goal, and then right before the half we score a fourth goal. And we're just like, wow, 4-0 Atlanta United. We are cruising right now. Second half, they get a PK early on. They miss it. And we end up closing out that game 4-0. And man, that's a memory, because that's like that was just such a confidence booster for me. Just being able to start with the team, with the guys, knowing that I was the number one guy at the time, and playing a game with Albert Elise and Mauro Manotas, Tomas Martinez, Felipe Senderos, Beasley, Kevin Garcia, who's played so many games with the Honduran national team, and he's been to the World Cup, and it just meant a lot to me, and for my growth as a player, to just believe in myself even more and know that I can keep climbing higher from here.
Yeah.
And for the next game, I strained my hamstring playing against Vancouver. We go up against Alphonso Davies. Mm-hmm. And that's another guy who's so rapid. Unbelievably fast. We end up losing 2-1. I'm playing up against Breck Shea, who's left mid, and then Alphonso Davies is left back. And we lose 2-1. And I'm nursing this hamstring injury, trying to get back in playing form. And we go to DC United, playing DC United. We tie 2-2. And second half in DC United, it just gets worse and worse and worse. And we decided that I was gonna try to nurse my hamstring back, because I'm not playing 100%. Mm-hmm. And you need to play 100%, especially playing on an outside back. Like at center back, you can hide injuries. Yeah. At outside back and outside mid, you can't hide injuries, because you need to be cutting, you need to be moving, accelerating.
One overlapping run, and if your hamstring's on 100%, you're like, done. Everybody can see. It's like, what's wrong with him?
Your strides are just long. They're powerful. You need to be ready to go. And if you're not ready, then you're gonna get exposed, and you're gonna aggravate your injury, and it's just not gonna look good for you. And you're being evaluated, right? Mm-hmm. So you have to worry about your future at the club too, if you're gonna continue to play like that. So I decide with the training staff, I'm gonna nurse my hamstring back. I try to work it back for like 3 weeks later and I travel to San Jose, and the idea is like if we're up, they're gonna use me as like a fifth defender to come on. And so I'm playing in the day before, like last training before the game. And we're training like that. We're preparing, like we're going from a 5-back system, and then they throw me in with the starters, and then I take off on one run, and boom, my hamstring again. And so I'm out for like another 6 weeks, and I finally go on to play Um, I traveled for the trip for Real Salt Lake and Montreal. I'm finally back. I'm feeling better. I went to see like a private massage therapist who like actually works with a lot of the professional athletes with like the Rockets, with the Astros, and with the Rockets. And I actually got her information through Beasley, and this is like massive for me because I need like some extra treatment for my hamstring, and I'm grasping to see like what else I can get to get me better and get me back on the field. And Beasley gives me her number, and I call her, and then we set it up. And just having her come once a week and just treat my hamstring is just so much for my confidence, so much for like my physical health, and just nursing my hamstring back and giving me the confidence to know I can go full speed again in training and in these games. There's an injury at that Real Salt Lake game, and I go in at center back. And I've been playing outside back, right? They haven't played me once at center back at the Dynamo. This is my first time playing center back, and I do well, and I play a good game. Like I stuff out some opportunities on our end, and I ping a few balls to our forwards in the attack, and I showed well. And then the next game I played against Montreal, which is another game I did really well, which I actually thought I actually got this is like around when they had like the Audi index player ratings or whatever.
Yeah.
And I noticed I would check it after each game I played because I thought it was interesting to see what like the Audi index criteria would score me as. And I ended up getting like the highest rating for that game against Montreal because I had so many clearances. I was keeping the ball well and dispossessing the player I was going up against. And I was going up against Piatti and like George Hamilton, one of their forwards. And so that was like a big test for me. And I ended up getting like one of the higher Audi index, well, the highest one in that game. And I thought that like if we would have grinded out a win there, or if I would have, I don't know, gotten a corner kick goal, I probably would have been on team of the week. And like that was always a goal of mine, was just to get team of the week in MLS. And we lost that game 1-0. And then we go back to Houston, and it's U.S. Open Cup time, and I'm playing more as an outside back and not a center back. And then I play outside back against Minnesota United, and it was a really tough day to play. It was tough conditions. We were playing like at 5-ish, and it was like really hot and humid, and I didn't properly hydrate for that game. And I had like changed my game day schedule where I ate something a little bit different, and it screwed me up royally. I didn't think that it was going to have that much of an impact on me, but playing, I don't know if you've ever played in like such humid conditions, but like when you're dehydrated and your head is spinning and you need to be so sharp playing in these environments because you're going up against lethal players who will make you pay if you're not 100% physically and mentally ready. That first half was really hard for me, and I am criticizing myself a little bit more, but I went up against Darwin Quintero, and you wouldn't be able to tell he was tired at all or if it was a humid day because he was just running and running and running, and he's one of the players who doesn't really like to defend that much, but when he gets the ball, he's gonna go at you. And he made me work. He made me work. I think that game I lost like 10 pounds. Dude, it was bad. I went home and I was sick. The whole rest of the day I was sick. We ended up winning 1-0. But I didn't have, it wasn't my best showing. It was probably my worst showing as a Dynamo player. And I think that like up until then, the coaching staff completely trusted me.
Yeah.
And then they see that one game, they're like, hold on a second. This like we're seeing Kevin fold under pressure right now. He's exposed right now. Can we trust him in like real game? Because there is so much pressure in regular season game. I know maybe from maybe watching on TV, it doesn't look like it, but like when you're preparing for these games, there's a lot of pressure and a lot of focus and a lot of little details that go into preparing for these games and making sure that you're 100% tuned in and know what the game plan is, and tactically, offensively, and defensively. There's so much that goes into it. So if they think that you're not in the right headspace, they're not going to put you to play.
Yeah.
And that led to me not playing for like the next month. And then we go to Colorado using a 5-back system. I did well, so I'm gaining their trust back. I did well. Then we go to Red Bull. I play as a right back. Did well in Red Bull. And then in September of 2018, we're going. This is like after we have like a week break, we have to play Portland, and we have a few injuries, and so I'm next on deck to play center back. So I'm the next string for center back. We go into the Portland game and we're winning, I think 2-0, and then Jared Watts goes down and gets hurt in the first half, and then I go into play the second half. I did really well at center back. We won 4-0. Then we travel to Orlando and we win 1-0. No, sorry, we tie 0-0 on the road at Orlando. But it's the first time we haven't. It's the first result we get on the road in a while. So like, while like team is proud, like I'm kind of upset because I want to win. Like I really want to show out. Like I deserve to be here, and I want to be part of the team that wins on the road.
Yeah.
So we got 3 points at home and a point on the road, and we have to head back home because we have the U.S. Open Cup final. So we're in the U.S. Open Cup final, and in the U.S. Open Cup final, I had made an appearance since that Minnesota game. I didn't play the following game against Sporting Kansas City, but the following game against LAFC, I came in as a left back after Adam Lundqvist had what was it? I think he was cramping in his hamstring or his calf, and so I came in, and that went on to penalties. So I was getting some confidence playing the U.S. Open Cup and getting some confidence playing against the Colorado and the LAFC in the semifinal of the U.S. Open Cup. And when it came to the final of the U.S. Open Cup, Felipe Senderos was coming back from injury. And with a player with that much experience, you can't overlook him and you have to put him back in the lineup. And I remember Beasley kind of being happy with how we had been playing, like that Portland team that finished out 4-0. The Orlando team was 0-0. Like we have 2 shutouts. We've struggled to get shutouts this year. And Warmer calls out the lineup, and he doesn't put me in the lineup. And Beasley's like, "You're not coming? Why are you not playing with us?" And I think that, again, like Beasley, to earn his respect and to kind of get that insinuation that like I should be in the starting lineup with him was just a massive vote of confidence from him, and it just did so much for my confidence and belief that I need to be there, that I deserve to be there. And so I was told that I was going to be the only defender on the bench for that game. So anyone who goes down in the back, I'm going in for them. And that was kind of my position on the team. Like if I was on the bench, I was usually going in for any position in the back line. And it was started off with Alejandro Mayor, Beasley, AJ De La Garza, and no, it wasn't AJ De La Garza. It was Andrew Winger and Felipe Senderos. Felipe Senderos gets hurt in the 38th minute. We're up, I want to say 2-0, and I go in and I'm ready to make my appearance in the U.S. Open Cup final. And I'm nervous, and it's a packed stadium, but I'm ready to do this, and I'm subbing in for Felipe, legend that he is. And I've been studying him all year, and just absorbing everything him and Beasley and the other veterans on the team have been showing throughout the year. And we were able to close out the half 2-0. We're fine. We're locked in. Second half, we come out. We're defending. Philly at the time was really good. They were in first place on the eastern side, so they were a competitive side, really good side. And we were able to stuff out some of their whipped-in balls, and they missed, I think, 1 or 2 crosses. And then we run down the opposite side, and we, with Romel and Albert and Mauro, they were always threatening behind. They were constantly threatening those outside backs, those center backs, and they whip in a ball, and the center backs, I want to say, it was one of the young center backs for Philly, but he ends up trying to block the cross, and he hits it into his own goal, and we're up 3-0, and we closed it out 3-0. And at the end of that game, I'll never forget it. I fell down to my knees and just looked back and thought about every single moment leading up to that, because that's what dreams are made out of. Just clawing your way, playing youth, playing through the high school, getting cut in college, getting rejected at the MLS level, going through the situation in Poland, working through the injuries in Sweden, in Ireland, changing style, working through RGV, working through Houston Dynamo, losing their trust, gaining their trust, And then it's all for this moment right now. There, you get to lift up a trophy, and you were a big part of that team that won the U.S. Open Cup championship. I fell down to my knees, and I just was just so emotional. A few tears came out because it just made me look back and appreciate everything I'd gone through. Every single little person every single little thing I'd gone through and person I'd met was important for me getting to where I am, and I was just so grateful to be in that position. And
That's awesome.
It was
amazing,
just the sickest moment, and it's probably like the most memorable day in my playing career is that U.S. Open Cup final, and then being at the end there, just lifting up the trophy with all those players. It's something that you're always going to share that championship together, and something you're always going to have in common.
Yeah, that's amazing. That's so cool. That's like literally, I mean, winning a cup is literally what every player dreams of. Every time they lift it up, you're thinking, I want that to be me. I want that feeling.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
But also that led to now the coaching staff believes in me.
Yeah.
Like playing in a final and playing in a regular season are two completely different things. Like playing in a final, like Beasley always says, how do you want to be remembered? I want to be remembered as the player who, when the lights are on and you're playing in finals, you know he's going to show up.
Yeah.
You know he's going to be there to show up for you. You know he's going to play. You know he's not going to have a bad game. And so there's so much pressure playing in those playoff games, in those finals. And just being able to contribute to that and be a part of that and experience it was just so important to me and my growth as a player and my maturity as a player. Because now I know I've played at this level. I've played with the best. I've played against in a final, and we've won in a final. We shut out a team that was the best in the Eastern Conference, and we need to build off of this. And from that game on, I started every game at center back for the Houston for the rest of the year, and that's where each game I grew more and more into my role at center back with the Houston Dynamo, and that led to me scoring my first goal at home against Seattle. Ended up losing 3-2, unfortunately. But I scored that goal, and I did really well that game, and then ended the season going to LA Galaxy in the last game of the year in 2018, and we needed to beat Galaxy to kind of ruin their chances of making the playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
And that was going up against Ashley Cole, Ola Kamara, Zlatan Ibrahimovic, which was a matchup I'd been waiting for, hoping for, nervous for.
How was Zlatan?
It was kind of surprising to see how much bigger he is in person. I knew he was big. I didn't think he was that big.
He's 6'7", isn't he?
He's a big guy.
Yeah.
6'7" and like 215 or 220, something like that. And we're going to Galaxy, and I'm feeling confident. I'm feeling strong. And you're playing in a away venue, and you're playing against Galaxy, one of the most historic teams in MLS. And you're playing against Zlatan. Like, I grew up watching this guy. I grew up watching his highlights. I grew up watching him bang goals in, and I'm thinking he's all that for sure. But now it's about my performance and how I need to shut him out and make sure that I do my job to ruin their chances of one of making the playoffs, and two, I'm also being evaluated, and this is the last game of the year, and I want to make sure I leave a good memory, a good impression with the coaching staff for the last game of the year. How I decided how I played and how I matched up against Zlatan Ibrahimovic and LA and the rest of the team. But they had a good team. They had Ola Kamara. They had the French winger. I keep forgetting his name, but Zlatan. They had Ashley Cole. They had Jonah Dos Santos. They had very, very good players. And I remember that first half. Like I was doing well with the ball. I was winning. I was winning challenges, and I was communicating well. And we were doing well. They just whipped in a ball off a corner kick, and it was like a fluke of a goal because one of the guys had one of our defenders pinned onside. He wouldn't let him push the line up, and then there were three guys who were left onside because that guy was pinned in.
What a veteran move, huh?
I know. And then he got chewed up at halftime too by the coach.
I'm trying.
I know. And that was 1-0. And then the next goal was Ashley Cole whipping a ball in behind, one of those early balls in between the keeper and myself. And I was marking Ibrahimovic, like shouldering him, because I made such an effort to focus on him and make sure that I made it so uncomfortable for him. I was so physical with this guy. Every single time he got the ball with his back to goal, like I was constantly like, shoving him and toe poking the ball away, or like just like pushing him off whenever crosses were coming in. And they whip in a ball, and Ola Kamara comes like sprinting in between Beasley and myself, and he like taps in a ball, like a really good ball, and it was a good finish. And we go in 2-0, and down 2-0 in the second half. We just kind of turn it on. They come out kind of flat-footed. They probably think they've got it in the bag. We score right away, 2-1, and then we score another goal, 2-2. And then all of a sudden, you know, we're tied, and they need a win. So they're going to start throwing numbers forward. They hit a long ball in behind, and Ibra's just offside. And no one knows he's offside yet, though, because they haven't put out the flag. And then I am kind of jostling with him and shoving him, and he's shoving me, and then we're neck and neck. And then I'm just thinking, like, there's no way I'm going to let this guy score right now and put them up 3-2. So we're shoving. It's like we're even battle, shoving back and forth. He finally, like, outside of the 18, decides to give me one last shove, and his head hits like that right on my lower eyebrow here. And I just remember feeling like a big thump, and then thinking like that really, really hurt. But I'm like kind of swaying, and then he goes down right away, and I'm like swaying, and I notice like a whistle, and then I just kind of tip over, and I'm like holding my eyes shut like this, and I'm just like back and forth like this. It's just like a big impact, a big hit, and the hit hurts, but nothing from my brain was hit. And I didn't have any whiplash, so there was no kind of risk of concussion there, I thought initially. But I start to open up my eye a little bit, and then Adam next to me says, no, keep your eyes closed. Keep your eyes closed. You're bleeding all over the place. And I'm like, what? He's like, you're bleeding. Just stay right there. Just keep your eye closed. And then the trainer comes on, and he patches me up, and he tried to get me up so I can continue playing, and I'm bleeding through the bandages. And they can't fix the cut. They can't stop the bleeding. And so I'm going to have to come out. And I'm so pissed. Ibra comes over to me. He's like, he helps me up. He gives me a hand up. He's like, hey, why'd you hit me with your head? And I said, you hit me? Look at my eye, man. You messed me up. He was like, it's okay. It's okay. And he gives me his hand or whatever. But earlier in the game, like, so I played in Sweden. Ibra, obviously, Swedish, played for the Swedish national team, Bosnian and Swedish. And I try to use some of my Swedish on him, and I say, fy fan bror, which is like, damn bro, it's really hot here today. Fy fan bror, det är lite varm idag, huh? And he just completely shot it down. Was just like, yeah, it is. Like, he just responds in English.
Yeah.
He's like, yeah, what is this, bro? Why do we play at this time? Why do we play middle of the day? We need to play at night. No, this is terrible. And like, I respected him, and he didn't really like antagonize me at all throughout the game. Like, you see clips of him antagonizing defenders, but like I had a respect for him, and he respected me in that game. And you know, that collision was just, you know, two players fighting for positioning of the ball. And, you know, we shook it off after, and then I ended up getting taken out, getting stitched up after the game, but we closed out the game and we win 3-2. And, you know, I go after the game, I shake his hand, tell him, you know, good match. He was kind of pissed off, obviously, because, you know, he's supposed to make the playoffs at Tibra. Shake his hand, and just, you know, tell him it was a, you know, a good game against him. And then I just go off and finish the regular season, and with my head held up high, because, you know, I finished strong, and felt like I belong. Like, I've started to make a name for myself with the team, and started to leave my mark there. And then we're also going to CONCACAF Champions League the next year. So getting ready for that, and finally going to CONCACAF Champions League. I didn't play in the first round, but I played in the second round against I am blanking on the team. It was a packed stadium. It was like 70. No, it was 70. It's like 42,000 fans.
Wow.
It was ridiculous.
Yeah.
But I didn't play the whole game. I played like the last 30 minutes or so because Minor came out with an injury. But it was just absolutely amazing atmosphere from when we first arrived with like the smoke bombs and the fans kind of rattling our bus as we're driving in, pushing up, screaming at us. Oh man, those are the nights you live for. And it wasn't Club America. It might have been. It was a team that plays in Mexico City. I'm blanking on them. And so, we play that game and we lose away 1-0. It was a second leg and we on aggregate we had already lost, so we were already out. And that year they brought in Minor Figueroa, international Honduran, and Kiki Struna, international Slovenian. So I was the next in line to play center back. I was like the supporting role, center back, supporting role, outside right back. I wasn't supporting role left back because Beasley and Adam Lundqvist were already there. So I was like the third string left back. And then that year, like I had a decent year. I played center back. I did well. Probably had my best game as my Dynamo player against Club America in the like Club Nations Cup in the summertime, where played center back, got an assist to Beasley for the goal, ended up going to PKs, took a PK, scored the PK, and it was one of my strongest games. And I had a lot of people telling me after the game how impressed they were with my play. And then after that, I made an appearance against Seattle. Seattle. And I was playing as a right back. I think the last 20 plus minutes in Seattle, we were down 1-0, and they were just trying to put in some fresh legs and try to create something else to try to tie it up. And then I suffered like a knee tweak. It was like a knee, like my kneecap kind of tweaked a little bit, and I needed like a week and change to get back to playing shape. And I ended up traveling for New York City and the New York City FC game, and for the PA Philly Union game. I didn't play in those games, and that's when after that trip, like Wilmer was fired from Houston Dynamo, and Davey Arnone and Michael De La Russo were Davey Arnone was the interim head coach, and Michael De La Russo the assistant head coach. And I played against Minnesota United in the middle of September. We won 2-0, and that was my last game with the Dynamo. I wasn't in the starting role because I think Minor was hurt for a couple games, and I played that game. We did well, like myself and Alejandro, who were like the two supporting center backs. And I think not having Wilmer there kind of changed the dynamic of the situation. And we did well. We shut out Minnesota 2-0, and then I talked to the head coach, and he said, no, like he respects me a lot as a player. He wants me around the guys. He knows that he can depend on me. Says like myself and Alejandro are like neck and neck. It's just more of a feeling thing right now at this point. So I said, okay. And that was the last game I played with the Dynamo. And then that year, Tab Ramos was announced as the new head coach, and he made some changes, and Alejandro ended up staying with the club, and I ended up making the move to FC Tulsa, where I met Matt Sheldon.
Where you met the GOAT.
The original, yeah, the original GOAT.
It's frustrating though how like you work so hard to earn like the trust of somebody, of the coach, and you feel like you did it.
Yeah.
And then one change of coach, and then you're back to square one.
Yeah. I mean but that's the game, right? That's the game, is like you playing for a coach that believes in you at any level. I mean, you could play for a coach in USL League One or a PDL or in college and high school that doesn't believe in you, and then you play for a coach that believes in you, and all of a sudden your confidence is through the roof, and you're doing things that you didn't think you were capable of doing, and you're riding high and you're improving, and you're like 1 year can change your life in this game.
It's just momentum, confidence, a good string
confidence is big.
A good string of games, or like a span without injuries, and you're flying.
Because I've seen players who've come from big clubs in MLS come to Houston Dynamo, not play, and their confidence is shattered.
Yeah.
And they're just a shadow of the player that they used to be.
Yeah. And then people are like, how did this guy play over here? It's like saying I've seen the opposite too, where I've seen a player and like he's shit.
Yeah.
And then later the season, the next year or something, you see him again, but this time in a better situation, confidence is high, and you're like, wow, he is a very good player. You know,
Absolutely.
like just it's crazy how little things like that.
Little details and like a little luckier way, and one good year. I mean, you can make massive strides in the sport. So it's part of the business, right? Like a new coach comes in, new coaching staff, and maybe they have a different idea, and you just kind of have to adjust and get ready for what's next. So the off season was that's when I got married to my wife and had a long honeymoon.
What year did you meet Jordan?
2016.
Okay, so the first year.
The first year
with RGV.
It was, with RGV, and you know, she's been a massive support too. Like just being there for me for game day. She knows like my game day routine. She knows how I like to keep it like really low key and try to keep my mind off of things and just you know, kind of not quiet, but just kind of casual and not really doing too much. And she's always been very supportive of me playing and just making sure like if there's anything I need her to do as like a supporting role, she's always there to do it. And so like we've formed a pretty good team, and you know, in the off season is usually when I pay her back and we go on like these hiking adventures, and we're able to have some fun in the off season because she loves to explore and go on nice little hiking trips. So we got married at the end of that Dynamo year, 2019 in Colombia, and then we hiked throughout South America. And then when we came back, it was time to decide. And I left it up to my agent to kind of figure everything out for me. And I was actually contacted by an Armenian team while I was in Brazil, like celebrating New Year's, and I got a DM from an Armenian general manager offering me a pretty good contract for 2 years in Armenia. And I passed it over to my agent. I say, this seems pretty legit. Like, what do you think? He's like, this is good. I talked to my contact over in Armenia, and he said this is a good club and the level of play is decent. So I left it up to him for like 2 weeks to sort it out, and for whatever reason, it like fell through after the third week, and I'm like at square one trying to figure out what to do and trying to find a team. And then
now like preseasons are starting up, like
and that's the issue, right? Is that you're already on the back end you're on the back foot because teams already have their core pool players that they're bringing in, and you're without a club, and you trying to hold out for an MLS team, but you also don't know if that opportunity is going to come, and when it comes, is it going to be too late? If it's ever going to come, or are you going to start to look at other options, whether it's abroad or looking at USL? And I started to look like around the first week of February because I had a contact in Vietnam who wanted me to come out there and try with two clubs in Vietnam for a pretty good contract. And I booked my flight and I was ready to go. And then that's when the pandemic had hit in, not the pandemic at the time, but that's when coronavirus was starting up, and started following the news in Vietnam, and they were closing up a lot of the cities, quarantining a lot of the cities. And it just seemed like a very risky plan rather than waiting in States, waiting for something more local, more realistic to appear. So I passed that up. I canceled my flight and just stayed in the States and waited. And that's when I reached out to Eric Bird to see what was going on with him, and told me that there were some injuries at the center back position and that it might make sense to bring me in because the season's about to start and they have a few players who might go under surgery. I think Callum was getting surgery, and Sip was hurt as well, and so they were interested, and so he put me in touch with Jim and Mike Garcia, and they brought me in. I don't know if you remember, but I came in for like 3 days, and then I got a call from my agent that DC United wanted to bring me in.
Yeah, I remember that. And
I tell Mike, like, I respect you guys, but I need to go take this opportunity. It's MLS opportunity. I need to go for the tryout. I know the MLS roster compliance date ends this Friday, and I know by then I'll have a decision. And so they were like, okay, so by Friday you'll be free to come play for us if you don't sign with them. I said, yeah, if that's the case. And then we ended up doing like a pre-contract that was executed by roster compliance date, which I thought if you're not signed by like February 28th, you're not playing in MLS.
Mm-hmm.
But I was wrong. You just need to have the players within your like roster. You need to be compliant with the roster, right? So if you're 28 players in a roster or 30 players in a roster, you need to have max 30 players training like within the camp. I thought you needed to be signed by them.
Oh, I see.
So there was like a little bit of miscommunication there. And so I was asking DC what they thought. Like the head coach, Ben Olsen, brought me aside and said, listen, I like you as a player. We're going to see you play on Sunday. And then I told Ben also, like, but my USL contract starts tomorrow at midnight.
Mm-hmm.
So I kind of need a decision. He's like, really? I didn't know that. It's like, I thought I didn't tell anybody really because I thought Friday was the deadline. They're like, but we need to see you play in a game. But in training, I was doing really well. And I was asking Jim, can I have an extension on the contract? He was like, no, Kevin, they need to sign you or else you're coming to us. And I think DC wanted to see me in a game first. They wanted to extend my trial until the following Wednesday, which was like Thursday. They wanted to extend it 6 days. We weren't able to make it work out. And so Saturday hit and I got the text from Jim, welcome to FC Tulsa. And, the rest is history. I ended up flying to FC Tulsa and I think I played in the first game in the following week against Sacramento.
Yeah.
And then we grinded out that 1-1 tie and closed for the pandemic. And, this has been home since. And I think that playing here last year really made me strive for winning a championship with this team because I know how talented the group is and where the aspiration is for not just the players, but for the coaching staff and for the rest of the club. That I think that we do have what it takes to make a run for the championship. So I think this year we've strengthened the group, and I think that we're going to take it one game at a time. But I'm ambitious like I am every single year, and I want to make sure that we represent the city well. And at the end of the day, when you start to get my age, all you care about are accolades and the championships and the titles that you win. And I think that's an important legacy to leave towards at the end of your career, and you want to make sure that every team you play on has a shot at winning a championship. And then that's what I'm passionate about is the group that we're with, and the goal that we have for this year, and that's to lift up that cup at the end of the year.
Mm-hmm. For sure. And then so that brings us all the way out to your 41-year career.
41-year career. Yeah.
All the way back from birth, all the way up from 41. 1980.
Yeah.
Up till
right.
now.
Well, that's what my passport says. Who knows how old I really am? But.
True. So now, just to end, I just want to ask like a couple questions.
Yeah.
I think I already know because I just hearing your story. But what has been the absolute high, like highest high you've had playing, and the absolute lowest low?
Highest high, U.S. Open Cup final win had to be. Lowest low is that 1 year removed from college and not knowing if I'm going to play professionally or if I'm going to have to give up my dream, something I've dreamed of since I was 4 years old to play professionally, not knowing if that was going to be it. It's time for me to hang up my boots and to look to something else. But, I think my teammates, my family, I think God, I think so many people who were important to me getting to where I am, because without them, I wouldn't have accomplished as much as I've accomplished. I wouldn't have met my wife. I wouldn't have my beautiful baby daughter, Penelope Grace. And I just owe it all to everyone I met along the way and all the different experiences I've had thanks to the game. Yeah. And then, that's exactly what I thought. Like those high and the low, that's exactly it. And then you're already, like I said, you're already 41, going 42 next month. How, looking forward, how much longer do you want to play for? Yeah. And what, I know it's so hard to predict past because, like you said, you can get a DM from a team in Armenia and be out there. Yeah. But what do you want, like, out of the next few years of your career? I had this conversation with Bird, and I think that if I feel physically good, if my body is holding up and I'm able to compete and I'm able to help the team and contribute, I want to keep playing. I think that I talk to so many players who are done with the game and they miss the game, and players who have even played for like 20-year-long careers. And I see Beasley playing up until he's 37, 38. I see Minor Figueroa playing 38, 39. I see Vicente Sanchez this year coming out of retirement and playing
Scoring.
with RGV at 41 and scoring.
Yeah.
I really don't want to put a limit on how many years I can play. It's my body telling me when it's time. And right now, I feel good. I want to play. We're training well. Body's recovering well. I think with each year, you need to take a little bit more care and prepare yourself for the demands of the professional sport, and take care of your body. You need to be smarter. So I think that's one thing that you need to take care of as you grow older with each year, and you just start to focus more on what your legacy is going to mean. And that for me is I want to accumulate championships, and I want to help bring a championship to Tulsa. I know that the team rebranded last year, and we have this new energy this year and from last year, and we're trying to build a new culture around this and establish a winning mentality and bring a lot of people into the game of soccer here in Tulsa and get a lot of people involved. So for me right now, the goal is win a championship every single year and still try to accumulate these titles, because at the end of the day, that's what you're going to remember is the championships. And I told you, like, those teams I've been on, I'm still friends with those people to this day. And I remember these plays, I remember these moments, and maybe it's, I'm analyzing the game, the games constantly after the game, or maybe it's just like I've enjoyed it so much that these are special memories and they live long in the memory because you've accomplished so much with those group of players. And so I want to make sure that we continue to do that and continue to strive for championships and first place.
Mm-hmm.
That's what it's about.
Yeah, 100%. And then last question.
Yeah.
Probably everybody listening to this right now wants to follow in your footsteps. They want to play against Zlatan Ibrahimovic. They want to play in 42,000 person. What's the biggest stadium that you've ever played in with the amount of people?
Mercedes-Benz? Maybe? Atlanta United?
Yeah. Was that like 60,000 or something?
Probably something around there.
Yeah, so they want to play in front of 60,000 fans.
Seattle, maybe.
Seattle's got like 60,000 too.
It's Seattle then.
Seattle.
Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, they want to play in front of that many people, play against their idols like that. This is such a hard question, but what piece of advice would you, looking throughout your career, what would you tell everybody listening to this right now? This is like your chance to give them one piece of advice, What would you say?
I would say,
no pressure. This isn't like a big question at all.
To always find your reason why. I think your why is extremely important. For me, my why was, again, I was competitive growing up, and I think a lot of the rejection fueled that competitiveness too. I did not like taking no for an answer. I held myself to a very high standard, and I think having that competitive nature with my brother fueled it a lot too. But I think having that reason to keep going, I think it evolves over time, and it's important to not lose it. I think that you have to have a reason to keep going, because if not, you get stagnant, you get complacent, and you get comfortable with where you are. And so it started off as me wanting to prove how good I am and me wanting to prove people wrong. And then it changed to the work I've put in, proving it at each level, believing in myself, doing it for my family, playing in a championship, trying to win a championship, trying to become a starter, and trying to just kind of improve that footprint you leave behind, or that imprint you leave on the game. And it's important to have that why, that reason that gets you up in the morning, that gets you excited to go work on your fitness, work on your weak foot, work on whatever it is you need to work on. And just having that work ethic and having a good attitude and a strong mentality. I think the mentality aspect of it is important, and that's what I lean on, that why, because there are going to be so many tough moments in life, just like in footy, in life where you're disappointed or you hit a bump in the road or there's adversity, but you always have to remember that reason why and approach it with a good attitude and a strong mentality, and not let it break you and not let it define you. Have it build that character, and you'll become a bigger person because of it. You'll mature into the person that thrives in these moments that maybe provide so many obstacles for you. You'll look at it as an opportunity to grow and to take lessons from it. So for me, I think the biggest benefit growing up were the failures. And I think that taught me to approach every single failure as an opportunity to grow and to learn from it. So having your reason why, having your passion and your heart into it, is probably the advice I would give to a young me starting over, and always doing the work where no one's watching. I think that I can't stress that enough. Like just seeing with what Sheldon does with all the training videos he's doing and the drills, like that's important to follow along and to make sure that you're working on your game as much as you can, because there's always somebody else out there who's trying to outwork you. So never get complacent, and always work on your weaknesses and try to perfect your game.
I love that. That's awesome. Yeah, the why is huge.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, this was the podcast with Kevin Garcia. Any last thing you want to say?
I mean, guys, it was great to be here. I mean, I know it was pretty long, but like
we said,
long
41
journey.
years.
41 years. I mean, it's a lot to recap there. Sheldon loves that joke. He just loves that. Even though he's 2 years younger than me. No, I mean, it's a blessing, guys. If you guys ever want to reach out to me and need some more words of encouragement, or want to find out anything more specifically about my career and how I got to where I am, just reach out to me through IG. I'm pretty accessible, and I'd be happy to respond.
Awesome. Well, thank you very much, Kevin. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Matt.
And we'll catch you guys on the next podcast. Peace.
All right, take care.